Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast, episode 171. Special guest, Slopes Game Room, with me, George, and RGT, and Slopes Game Room. These guys are they're Slopes Game Room to my 45-degree...
Spit it out. Get teeth in.
I tried to come up with something interesting, and because this show is the way it is, it's all staying in.
I thought you was about to say I'm Slopes Game Room is 45 years old. I'm not. I'm
No.
really not.
You're forever youthful. I was trying to say that you guys were Slopes Game Room to my 45-degree angled gaming yurt. Don't worry about it. You know.
Wow.
It made sense to me at 2 a.m. while I was trying to navigate my way through Jurassic Park Evolution 2.
That's what you've been playing.
That's what I've been playing. I literally felt like I was Dr. Alan Grant rolling around, move some pot plants around me, make it look realistic. Felt good to me. All this drivel out the way, we've fallen at the first hurdle. We've got an absolute gaming mastodon here. So no wonder I tripped over my own words, my own tongue. Slopes, DJ Slopes.
What's up?
Slopes Game Room. Many, many pseudonyms for you, sir, but you are literally honouring us with your presence. Thank you for joining.
Honouring my presence. My God, nah. Cheers. Don't big me up too much. It's not good for my ego.
Let's blow this ego up. Let's see where this can go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right. So we've only ever had one knight on the show before. Mike Rouse. We knighted him, Sir Mike Rouse. Does it devalue his knighthood to give you one, Sir Slopes? No, it doesn't. You're a knight of the UCP.
I'll tell you what I have got. Good work with this. Got it right here. So this is a part of a sponsorship, which I said I would do, and then for obvious reasons, I didn't. I've got a proclamation, so technically I'm a lord.
Oh,
fine.
Lord Slopes Games Room.
I'm in good company because I'm the Lord of Farmerton here, the village as well. So this is absolutely great news.
So, I mean, I am a lord, but also I'm not really a lord because we all know how that went down.
Yeah, they were cropping up on a few YouTube.
That one blew up big time.
Yeah.
I made a really good sponsorship video for that, and then I just never put it out. I never did it. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this, and I pulled out. There you go.
Yeah, I know a few people got caught with that, didn't they?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, the blue-blooded controversy reigns, doesn't it?
There it is.
Point?
Yeah,
it is. I alienated your listeners already. I'm not listening to this guy.
Don't you worry about it. I happened to notice the other day that we were doing really well in Russia for some reason. We're not tied to any country.
Okay,
but I think that probably upset a few folks. But I can't decide where people listen to. We're available everywhere.
I remember that same sort of thing happened. I did an interview recently with the guy who runs Megabots. I don't know if you saw. I did a Kick Scammer video all about the fighting robot things.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about it at OLL where I met you guys. He put loads of money into advertising, the big fight that was coming and the Kickstarters and stuff like that, but accidentally didn't set the region. So it all went to, I think it was Russia. So they just got an insanely huge amount of followers from Russia. Like, why have we got all these Russian followers? But they're like, oh, wow, we didn't change it to, it might not have been Russia. I think it was Russia, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
Check out the video and you'll find out.
Note to self. Make sure I check the boxes more. Maybe that's what I've done. Maybe that's why we're big in North Korea and Russia. I don't know what we're doing wrong, but we must be doing something right. Flow of the show. We normally ask each other what we're hoping to play. Then we have some news. Then we're going to have a section just dedicated to your good self, Sir Slopes. And then we're going to move into the legend Stingray. I'm excited to find how you see him. Newcomer to the show. Never seen the denim-clad warrior before. So it's going to be interesting to see how he manifests himself. Then we're going to talk about what we're hoping to play. And then we're out of here. So let's rewind a little bit. Thank you again for joining us. The show goes out live with very little editing. So my whole catastrophe of bungee jumping through the script and making a complete car crash of your intro, for which I will ever be humbly apologising for.
It's all good, buddy.
It's not good enough. Let me cut this round then. Gentlemen.
Go for it.
What you been playing? And we'll start with you, Sir Slopes, if we may. Just give us a quick run through of anything you've had a dalliance on at any point in time this week.
I've been playing a lot of Evil Dead games, the old games on the Commodore 64. I had to put in the Amiga emulator on my PC to run a demo from 92, I think it was, which is literally 30-second long. Obviously dabbling in on the PlayStation games. I have actually got out in the game room the Evil Dead, the PlayStation 5 version of Evil Dead, although I don't have an online subscription, so it's very much just something I hold up as a prop and record what it looks like in single player, which is an online only player game, so you can imagine not a lot. But yeah, got the PlayStation game, the Xbox game, stuff like that, because I'm basically working on an Evil Dead video. In fact, I've finished an Evil Dead video. As I'm speaking to you, I'm rendering an Evil Dead video. 69%. Ooh, numbers. That's for work, if you want to call it work, that's what I've been playing. But for my personal interest, I don't get to play that many games because I'd spend so long working on videos about them. I really only tend to play games for my own pleasure, even when I'm playing games with my son, which is a game that I wouldn't want to play anyway. Fortnite, Minecraft, what have you. It's normally only when I'm doing kick scammers that I can play some games. I'm a bit more chilled now, and I've been playing Cuphead, which is apparently a really good game, quite new. You should go check it out. Cuphead, pretty good. I've only literally just got the physical copy of it for the Switch.
Much like ourselves, you're right on the white hot edge of gaming. So
yeah, it's quite embarrassing actually. It's quite.
Don't you worry about it.
And actually, you know what? I will give one shout out. I streamed about a week ago. Let me open up my Steam because it's got a weird name. A game called Fuda Puti Samurai, which is a raunchy FPS game, bit like Duke Nukem, very similar to Duke Nukem, where you run around as a girl that's a bit anime-esque, a bit underwear-esque. Someone asked if I wanted to have a look at it. The person that made the music for it asked if I wanted to have a look at it. It has incredible music, but the game is just absolutely crazy. And I didn't play it for long because my PC crashed stupidly, but it was still quite a fun experience. There you go.
When you said raunchy, my mind went to some sort of Sid James based FPS.
Sid James.
For the American
listeners.
To
load the game up now. Damn it! I've clicked on the game instead of the library. I might be playing it now. No, it's it's got that sort of Duke Nukem comedy style about it, like strippers and that sort of like thing, but like comedic and not in any way arousal based. It's just stupid comedy. Yeah,
I think you're forgetting what it's like to be 13.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I rented Duke Nukem as a teenage lad for among many other games I probably would have preferred to play. If I'm going to be honest. For one single reason, yeah.
There were some very edgy games back in the day. There wasn't quite the age rating guidance, censorship, and
definitely not
certification.
You wouldn't get away with it nowadays, would you?
Mortal Kombat ruined that.
Yeah.
To be honest, though, with phones and Safari and YouTube and all that, they probably don't need to worry about some pixelated bodies on a screen. But I
tell you what, it worries me. We're getting really off track here. I tell you, it worries me as a kid. As a teenager that was, getting into that sort of, pubescent teenage years, it was hard to find any kind of material of anything to look at as a teenage lad in the 90s.
Kay's catalogue got an absolute hammering.
Yeah. I'm scared for my son. Like,
I think for the modern,
well, I'm more scared for me knowing what a teenage lad is like, what I would be like as a teenage lad if I just had the internet at my fingertips.
That's what I was going to say. It would be you don't gently build up. You can go from 0 to light speed immediately. Yeah, and that's the scary part.
It is. It's seriously frightening. Let's turn this into a crazy episode that I didn't story that I didn't expect to retell. I went to go and see at the cinema. This will try and give you an idea of the time frame this was. We went to go see a Jim Carrey film. It was it was The Cable Guy. We went to go see The Cable Guy at the cinema. And there weren't that many buses. So me and my friend were walking down country lanes at some time. I reckon it must have been 96, maybe, something around that era. And we found a carrier bag in a bush full of VHS tapes. And they were like recorded VHS tapes, and I remember one of them had written on there Edward Scissorhands, and the rest was ripped off. I'm like, oh, Edward Scissorhands used to be on here. And we went home and was like, imagine if it's that sort of thing. Imagine if it's that sort of thing. And it was that sort of thing. And that was my first experience of it. And of ever seeing anything like that. And I remember, like, the parents, because we obviously hid up in his bedroom to go watch these tapes, see what was on these tapes. And his parents, because I was staying over his house, bought us fish and chips. And we were sitting there eating fish and chips, me and my mate at the time, watching these videos. And I had a big old Savoy in my hand. I'm just holding this Savoy, watching what's happening on the screen. And I'm like, I don't want to eat this Savoy anymore.
Only the UCP could bring these confessions out of someone.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, you know, like back then, that was scary to me as a young lad, seeing all that sort of stuff. Because you know what you imagine in your head, like what you know, it wasn't anything like what it actually is like. But nowadays, like little kids, they can just get access to the internet. It scares me as a parent. It really does.
And trying to police it as well is another thing, and all this.
Oh, it's going to be nuts.
It's going to be just have faith that the instruction and guidance you've given them to this point will steer them in a dark, fogged sea. And that's all you can do. It's like, that's all you can do. Okay. Well, with that, quite interesting aside to put to one side.
So yeah, I've been playing Cuphead.
I think we should treat this as a confessional going forward, and I'll give you some Hail Marys and whatever at the end of the show, and you'll be completely fine. RGT, what have you been playing?
I think you could probably guess. More Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. How's that going for you?
Yeah, I'm about 40 hours in now, I suppose.
Oh, proper big boy.
Oh, yeah. Still haven't done any more missions, so I'm still doing shrines. I think I'm, 30 shrines in now? I think 35 shrines.
I've said this before, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
You need a girlfriend.
Unfortunately, I'm married, but there you go.
Unfortunately, I'm married.
I mean,
said that a little bit louder than I expected you to say it.
Mrs. RGT, he said it, not
RGT,
me.
Yeah, you'll understand. I'll explain in a little while.
Your dinner's in the dog.
Exactly. Yeah, so I am absolutely loving it. Like I said to you before, at the start, I wasn't in love with it as I was Breath of the Wild, but now I find the shrines better than Breath of the Wild. The puzzles are brilliant, and I'm absolutely loving the puzzles in the shrine. I just find it so addictive, and just that exploring the open world.
What about the retread of areas that you've obviously spent quite some time in Breath of the Wild? Is that not like stomping a little bit dry for you?
No, I love it. I actually went back and found the shrine where you start on Breath of the Wild. When I had a look in there, and that's all overgrown now as the years have gone on, and there's little stuff.
That's nice.
Yeah, really, really good. There's a lot of thought gone into the game it's come from, Breath of the Wild. You can find, retrace your steps a bit and find some bits and pieces. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving going back to these places and going back to the villages and seeing how they change, what you can do. And yeah, really good. And the other game I've been playing, and I know this is completely obscure and completely opposite, but I've been back on Gallagher on me 7800 trying to beat me high score. I know it's completely different from Tears of the Kingdom, but
that's a pure level of dedication, RGT.
I just love that version of Gallagher. I love
Gallagher's fantastic.
Yeah, the 7800 version. For some reason, I know it's a slower version, but that's probably why I like it more. But I'm still trying to beat my high score there. So I've been grinding.
That is a raw retro experience now.
Yeah, but I love them arcade.
You prefer Gallagher to Galaxian?
I do, yeah. I do, but it's more of a nostalgia thing because I think it's Gallagher is what I played as a kid in the arcade. Yeah. So that's the one I come to first. Space Invaders, and then I progressed to Gallagher, and I think that's why it holds, more for me, I think. And I just, for some reason, I've never had a 7800 as a kid. I've only had a 7800 since I've been collecting, but I just love that version of it, and I love the arcade ports on there, Food Fight, and even, Galaxian's a good version on there. I enjoy playing it on that system for some reason. That just feels right on an Atari. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's been those two mainly this week. George, how about you?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you like video games, podcasts, and reminiscing? I'm actor, video game writer, and total sweetie pie, Connor Savage McCabe, and on each episode of Call Me By Your Game, I sit down with a guest for an intimate look at a special game from their past. Did you and your dad beat Spyro the Dragon over the holidays? Or was Halo 4 the one thing that united your roommates during your senior year of college? Stories like these are what Call Me By Your Game is about. From video game content creator Janet Garcia to Hades voice actor Courtney Vinay's, I interview wonderful comedians and game industry friends about these memories. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe someday you'll call me by your game.
Oh, let's cut this down. There's been some Farming Simulator going on because I just can't have a day without picking some stones out of the field. I don't know why I never noticed this before, but it's an annoying mechanic, and I should have just gone straight to rolling. Those that know. Those that don't, think move to the next game, George. I finished Horizon Burning Shores. Quite enjoyed that, actually, all in all. There's like a little peak in the difficulty where you're fighting all these Apex machines. Obviously, they want it to be a challenge for people who completed the main game. You're going in quite high level, so to have low enemies there would have been too easy. But then you clear this sort of peak of difficulty, and it's a bit of a straight run through to the end. The boss isn't particularly challenging, actually. It was reasonably easy to defeat. But by the time you get inside the encounter and have a little bit more of a one-on-one experience, is pretty much by the numbers at that point, which basically signposts you to the end. The ending that's got all the controversy on the internet, it was up to you to make a decision at the end about how you wanted it to go. At the start of Burning Shores, I made a dedication to Sun King of Ad. And in my mind, that was my story for the things. And I like the fact that it gives you the three options at the end of this one to decide how you want to move Aloy forward nice from a romantic point of view. I can see them hardwiring in some of these decisions. Maybe it would have a stronger story beat in future games. So fair enough. It's your character. If that's where you want to take Aloy, guys, I'm just on for the journey. I just want to shoot neon dinosaurs and look at cool old future things overgrown with weeds. I also ordered Anno off of the old Amazon. It came, quite excited by that. It's a Ubisoft sort of city builder based around sort of the Imperial era. It's a little bit sort of fake reality, obviously, to make it work. My only, so far I'm working through it, I'm finding it quite enjoyable, but the tutorial for the campaign mode is most egregious. It tells you one thing and then doesn't tell you how to do the rest of it, and you kind of got to click every button on the screen to work it out. Eventually I did via Reddit, and it was like, yeah, of course, right, okay, that makes sense. As an aside to that, which I'm solely enjoying, but over time that will unlock more things, and I'll talk about that more on the show. I've been playing a whole host of games, but just to keep it brief, just to run them alongside each other to see, obviously, the PlayStation owners got the Evolution 2, Jurassic World Evolution 2, as part of the monthly games. I thought, let's try this. The actual campaign and tutorial mode on that is so good. It literally teaches you every single nuance. Anno didn't teach me in as good a way as Jurassic World. They are the same game, kind of, but they are different. And I think that nuance in the tutorial was a little lost, which I think was a shame, because Anno's sort of storyline they've chosen to talk you through the work up to the sandbox area is actually quite enjoyable.
Did you play the first Evolution?
I have, yeah. And I've obviously played.
I've still got that. I still haven't even touched it yet. I still haven't played that yet.
Do you know what? It's worth it. And the Operation Genesis is very well represented in this. That was a really enjoyable PS2 Xbox game from back in the day, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And this just ticks all those nostalgia boxes. I did think this Jurassic World would be a little bit deeper. But hey, there you go. I think that's all we've been playing. So Slopes, we need to get you a certificate, don't we, really? So it's official. So Slopes, so now we're going to...
Proclamation, another one.
Yeah, I think we'll just photocopy that, and I'll badly edit it in PowerPoint or something and print it out for you. The show's got a budget, so Slopes, I'm afraid. We've got to the news to scour the very darkest regions of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, Kiryu Goes Digital. Now, this is here because I'm a massive Yakuza fan, but it also represents something that I feel we can get our teeth into, gentlemen. So, Like a Dragon, the man who erased his name looks pretty awesome. After all, who could not fall in love with a seemingly superhero, Kazuma Kiryu, who appealed to use his ethereal tethers to tackle thugs in the latest gameplay trailer? Got a slight issue with that, but there you go. The one problem, it may be digital-only release, with apparently no plans for a physical version. While we're still awaiting confirmation from Sega, but a fan channel, Camarucho Bros, noted it has spoken to retailers that have reached out to Sega and has concluded there are no physical ESRB versions of the game. Obviously, this applies to the USA right now. There may be different plans in Europe. None of this rules out the potential of a physical version launching later down the line, of course. Sega has approximately 3 months to change its mind, or it could partner with a company like Limited Run to get box copies out into the wild. Of course, this is beginning to become a trend. The upcoming Alan Wake 2 will also not have a physical release as things stand. Obviously, there's still plenty of people who purchase box copies of games, but that doesn't change the fact that digital sales are gradually beginning to overtake retail ones. There's still advantages to physical, of course. Games can be displayed on shelves and retain resale value. Perhaps in this instance, Sega doesn't believe the market is big enough for a retail release to justify the effort. Gentlemen, Sir Slopes, I'm coming to you first. The March of the Digital Dragon.
Yeah.
Does this bother you as an old school gamer? Do you like to build sort of forts in your game room and hide in your massive collection of Sonic 2 cartridges? Or do you think it's time to let go of the physical objects and move to a cloud-based reality?
So when I moved during I think it was around the Switch era, maybe even closer towards the PlayStation 4 era, like I spoke to so many people that are just like, I'm all about digital only. I've got big groups of people that are like not that they're into gaming. They'll play the latest GTAs, they'll play the latest Red Deads or whatever, stuff like the FIFAs and what have you.
Yeah.
But like real world friends that aren't into gaming the same way I am, and all of those are just like, yeah, I'll just go digital. When PlayStation 5 announced that we're going to have a digital console and a digital only and a disc based system, they're just like, well, I might as well get the digital one. And I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I couldn't get my head around it. Even people that I spoke at Sega, their personal preferences, the person I spoke to there was just like, I buy all my games digital now on the Switch. And I just can't get my head around it. And that's not like, they're not in charge of distribution or anything like that. But I just remember one person I spoke to there, which is like, I buy all my games digital. I'm like, whoa, really? I've literally got a big old shelf behind me, which is just the Switch shelf. And it's like, there's like 200 physical games on there. So yeah, I'm all about physical. However, I've started to lean towards digital. Now I've got a Steam Deck. I picked up a Steam Deck because you haven't got any other option. And I've been in the mind space of buying digital only, not digital only, but buying digital games for PC for the longest time anyway, because of what Steam provides.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the middle here a little bit with how I feel about this.
Are we, in a way, the gaming equivalent of you and I walking to see Cable Guy and stumbling across a bin bag full of things? Are we from an old era that's let that go and has already moved to a cloud-based solution, and maybe we're peculiar unicorns in the fact that we like to collect physical copies of this?
I do it with music. I buy albums I like, new rock bands really, and a rock band I grew up liking have released a new album, and I'll buy their album on vinyl, but I'll listen to it more digitally on Spotify or whatever. So it's a convenience thing, digital.
Do you think there's in that realm as to what you say? Let's say a game came out that you downloaded digitally and it became your Star Wars as far as a pop culture icon in your life was concerned. You loved everything about it. It was a game that kept on giving. Would you retrospectively, do you think, buy a collector's edition for that? I buy physical games. I buy, for instance, the Switch. I still buy physical games for the Switch. I've still got games waiting to arrive for the Switch. Games, I'll buy all the main ones, your Zeldas, your Pikmins, your Marios, what have you. But I'm so in love with the indie scene. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. I know it's more high-end indie there. But all these other games, what can I give as an example? There's absolutely loads, but there's so many games that for instance, I see it the same way as movies. When I had a cinema pass to go to the cinema as much as I like, I'd go and see a movie once and then I'd forget about it. If I owned that movie on Blu-ray, I'd remember about it and I'd want to be a bit more
I've got more of a connection to that product, and I want to keep going back and experiencing that product. It's the same with games. Like these, a lot of these indie games, unfortunately, I would forget over time just because there's hundreds of thousands of them. But if I own it physically, I'm like, oh wow, this is something that's so good. I'm willing to own a physical product of it, and then it's something that I'm likely to play further down the line.
Okay.
So that's how I want to do it. In regards to this thing with Yakuza.
Yeah,
I think, games cost more money to make these days. That's just an unfortunate fact. You look at a AAA game made in the 90s or even the noughties, definitely the 80s. Small teams of people could make those. Small teams now are making tiny games. And if you want to go buy the new Far Cry, they take years to make by entire buildings worth of people.
Yeah,
to make
more than
game.
A movie.
Yeah, exactly. They cost an absurd amount of money, so they need to think of new ways to make money. And with Sega, I think they've nailed it. I don't think they were the first to do this, but Sonic Origins comes out. I'm like, they'll release a physical of this in a year's time. Sure enough, they're releasing the physical of it in a year's time after we've all bought the digital version. Now, do you want all the extra stuff? You can buy £5 and get that, or you can get this sexy, nice limited edition. That's what's happening here with Yakuza. There's too many hardcore fans that would want a physical copy of Yakuza for them not to do a physical copy a year down the line. If they need to do that, it's an unfortunate way. I
tripped over my bottom lip over this, Sir Slopes, but I guarantee you I'll be the first in the queue for the physical version when it finally gets released.
Yeah, I've got. So I bought myself the physical Sonic. What was the other 2D one? Sonic
Mania.
Yeah, I bought that with the big old, oversized Kinder Egg toy Sonic Mania statue thing here. This thing. Which I actually rewired because they didn't rewire it properly at Sega. Now the light goes on.
RGT, does your light go on or no?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. If you open it up, you can see the wires connecting to the light, but they never did. As in, like the prongs coming out of the light, but they didn't put a wire to it. And there's a tiny little circuit board, and it even has the bits that light. So so if I just connect that to that. Oh my God, the light comes on. It's literally like that. They just didn't do it for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway.
RGT, can I just say, your Sonic light's on, but there's no one home, friend. You need to get your soldering iron out.
I know, I'm good this afternoon now.
So, but yeah, they did that. And then they released Sonic, they released the Plus edition with the extra characters. Now, thankfully, Sega did send that to me for review, that one. But I would have bought it. Because look at my office. It's there is a wall behind the rows of plastic boxes.
I'm slowly trying to poison myself with bromide release. To be honest with you, I think over time it will kick in.
So I just see that's what they're going to do. But the world is going digital only, and it's just happening. It is what it is. That's why you can get most movies for £1 a pop at most. When you go and see X on Blu-ray, even though they definitely still look better than streaming it on Netflix for the most part.
They so do, and the sound quality's better as well. It's the whole package. Okay,
I kick off at my wife and whatever, and they're like, "Oh, let's watch Beauty and the Beast or Cinderella, all these like classic Disney films." I'm like, because we pay for Disney Plus, but I'm like, we've got them all on Blu-ray. Get out there now and go get it. It's so much better. It's so much better. And also, honest, I'm a big fan of commentaries, and you can't get that on digital.
Yeah, you can't. And I'm a fan of, going for the nostalgia. I'll even watch something on a VHS if it makes me feel warm and fuzzy. The tracking.
Definitely fuzzy.
Yeah, and the sort of hazy picture, kind of part of the nostalgia, if I'm honest. RGT, are you quaking? You're a man who's built his reputation about building a shed, first of all, out of decomposing plastic things that hold decomposing silicon things. And now with the march of digital, you're not going to be able to build that conservatory out of Sonic Mania cartridges anymore. You're literally done. The game shed's as big as it's going to get. The line is drawn. The era is over. How do you frame yourself in the digital world? Retro digital, Thomas? Should we get you rebranded?
Yeah, new Instagram tag. I do like my physical stuff. I have very, very found it hard coming across to digital. Although I am coming across to digital. I mean, I still listen. You're going to think I'm mad. I still listen to CDs and cassette tapes in my shed when I've got music on.
Me too.
But I have got Spotify on my phone, and I've started using Spotify more over the last 18 months. And I think you slowly become accustomed to the new way, you know. And I do like my physical stuff, which mostly is older stuff and retro stuff, but I still do like certain games I will buy a special edition of. But on the other side of that, it is good for the indie devs. It's, you know, having digital only is so much easier for them to get their games up and get them on a platform rather than have to make the physical copies.
Oh,
and then
majorly.
Yeah,
majorly.
You know, so there is benefits to it. And, you know, it's only a matter of time. We eventually will be all over to the digital side. You know, that's how it's going to go.
I don't think we'll go completely digital because there's always going to be people out there that want to physically own something based on these things that they love.
I mean, have your limited runs, I suppose.
I've got the full Yakuza run at the minute, and it makes me a little bit nervous that I might not be able another pile of plastic.
There'll be
to
something.
The pile.
I bet my bottom dollar that there'll be something, even if it's only released in one particular region, which would be sad. There will be something.
Yeah. I will buy that, even if it's in Finnish. One little ditty as an aside, gentlemen, to my digital experience. I mentioned in the What You've Been Playing that I've been playing Anno, and I bought that from Amazon. That's not the full story, and I saved it for here. I bought it brand new off Amazon, turned up. Here we go. Stick it in the PS5. Happy days, it's downloading. It got stuck at 75%. Pop the disc out, something wrong with it. Looked at it in the light, flawless. Give it a wipe with a lint-free cloth just in case. Put it back in. Still got issues. I think to myself, I really want to play this. What am I going to do? Send it back. That's not an option for me. I'll download it. Did it flawlessly, no issues. Now, that's the world we live in. The digital copy works, but the disc somehow in the copying process has been compromised. There's not enough, I don't think, physical buyers of Anno out there for really anyone to notice this. It may just be that the whole batch is wrong. I'm going to keep it because I want a piece of plastic on my shelf of plastic things, and I will also have it digital now. So I think sometimes this move to digital is seen as a bad thing, and I've probably been the guy at the front with the trident saying, death to digital, I hate the cloud-based world that we live in. But do you know what? It's very convenient. And at 9 o'clock at night, when I want to sit down and play Anno, the option's still available to me, even if the disc is damaged.
There's pros and cons to both sides. There's no way either side wins in any argument. I was speaking to Ashins when I went up to I think it was OLL actually, and I was chatting to him, and he was asking us, have any of you guys that dealt with any disc rot? And I'm like, well, honestly, I wouldn't know because I'm not playing a lot of discs from like the old days. Like, you know, I've got all these right next to me, all these. I don't know why I picked up music of all things for the PlayStation, but like,
best game on there.
It's like it might have disc rot. I wouldn't know because I haven't put it in for like at least a decade. Probably at least 2 decades. But he was saying, lost a load of Sega Saturn games. He started reeling off all these incredible.
Saturn seems quite vulnerable to disc rot as well.
Yeah.
It always seems to crop up. Whether it's the discs they used or the coating or I don't know, but Saturn does seem to crop up a lot. And that, I mean, I've got about 100 Saturn games, and that does terrify me. I've touched wood. I've been okay.
I mean, surely it's inevitable though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It terrifies me because I've got so many disc-based games.
I mean, you got to think to yourself now. What do? Do you sell these while they're at high profit before they hit disc rot and then worth nothing? Like, what do you do? I mean, or do you keep them and then when that time inevitably eventually comes, do you keep them still? And they look how nice they look now. But you know, there's that angle which is really bad with digital, with physical. But with digital, for instance, like I said, I've just done this Evil Dead video. And there's a whole section of mobile games, Evil Dead mobile games. Now, like mobile's not great, blah, blah, blah. But trying to find those long delisted digital only games is in almost all of them. I just couldn't play. I just could not play. I desperately searched the internet to try and find them to download. There's good iOS emulators that have recently come out which can play some games like that. Like we managed to bring back Monkey Ball recently because of that, the iOS version. But some of them, they're just gone. They are literally gone. You will never play those games again. And as someone that's obsessed with retro gaming and preservation, that's so scary.
The thing is, you mentioned you've opened up a window in my mind to the back of like a lads mag or a gaming mag back in the day where it'd almost be like an 0898 section where there'd be screensavers for your phone. And then these sort of really broken looking versions of the games you were playing on your early PS2 at the time. that you could get on your
sort of Java-based games.
3G Nokia. Yeah, all sorts of absolute drivel. Are they something, Slopes, that you would jump on your white charger and go into the ecosystem to try and save for posterity? Some of that.
I mean, I personally wouldn't, but I'd hope someone does.
Wow.
I would, I'd buy a pint to the person that did, like, because it's important to save all that stuff. I've got a phone here I found in the bottom of a drawer. It's literally expanding, ready to explode. An old iPhone, an iPhone 2.
Is it the 3G model?
I don't know. I don't think so. Doesn't have any. But there's games on here that are long delisted. These ones you might be. There was a Linkin Park video game, iPhone game, and I'm like, you won't be able to find that now. I mean, someone's probably. I mean, that's a big title. Someone's probably managed to keep hold of that one. But there's like loads on there that it's crazy, absolutely crazy. I mean, there's thousands, if not millions, of retro physical games from that are all on cartridge and CD, but there's billions of Android and iPhone games that they're gone. You'll never see them ever again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're lost to the annals of time, and there's no way to catalog that.
And it's insane because they're more recent than the ones we're more obsessed with. Yeah,
speaking
like
of disc
10 years ago.
As you bring it up, I've only ever suffered from disc rot once, and bizarrely, it was probably getting on for 10 years ago now. It was a copy of Skies of Arcadia. It just wouldn't load. Held it up to the sky.
Wow.
The tiniest.
Was that the Dreamcast or the Cube?
Yeah, the Dreamcast one. The tiniest pinprick on it. And it was a time when the game was probably still 24 quid or something daft. I don't think it's that now. And I rebought it begrudgingly. But I didn't think it possible. It wasn't even that old at that time. At that point, it's probably, I don't know.
I'm going to have a look at my Saturn games.
Once old. It's a scary thought. While Slopes runs off to check through his back catalogue of
random ones.
Here he is. This is public service broadcasting for you. While Sir Slopes is checking his catalogue of games, community corrections, RGT, I think we got away pretty much scot-free. No one picked us up for our lack of gaming knowledge last week. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right. I don't think there was any corrections last week.
We know that in the industry.
Flawless victory.
Flawless victory. To anyone wondering why we didn't do RGT's Hidden Gem this week, it's because I didn't really want to sing and be ridiculed by a Knight of the Realm, if I'm being honest with you. I think even my fragile ego couldn't handle that. I think I'd be a crying mess of a man. So RGT, the only thing, let me throw it back to you. If a listener had a question or thought, it's like, George, I want to pull you up because it's a little bit embarrassing that you stumbled over your own mediocre intro for Sir Slopes at the start of the show.
What?
I can't pull you down for this, but I just want you to be aware that you let me down. If they want to let me know that I let them down and Sir Slopes, how would they get in touch and let us know that I'm basically a flaming pariah of video games?
Well, if you want to let George know how terrible that intro was, then because I'm typing an email as we speak. Questions at unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. You can DM us on Instagram or Twitter, or the best place is Discord. Slopes is on the Discord now. If you want to come and say hi to Slopes, get on the Discord. Come and join the community. We've got everything. I say this every week, I know, but we've got people swapping games. We've got people showing their pickups. We've got people talking about games. We've got everything from culinary delights to pets to bits and pieces. There's something for everyone on there. So come and say hi, jump on the Discord, and let George know his intro is terrible.
I think I will stand up like a man and take that on the chin. In fact, to be honest, right now I'm thinking I should probably pack up the keys to the Farmerton mansion, everything to do with the show, find out Sir Slope's address and send it to him. The show is literally hanging in limbo at the moment. The reason, though, that we all got together on the internet today to bring you this fine episode of the UCP, the Unofficial Controller Podcast, is because the aforementioned Sir Slopes has given us some time out of his very, very tight schedule to come and talk to us about himself, his life, his journey through video games. And through the medium of this, we're going to find out where he started. He didn't just all start in a bin bag in a dirty ditch somewhere between him and his local picture house.
Although I reckon that was a good time to start on the retro journey, because we were probably playing on ET on the Atari 2600. I remember finding they had an old Atari 2600, so we was probably playing that before the guy looking for bin bags.
Wow.
Well, it's funny how these things work out. So, Slope's Game Room, aka Daniel Ibbotson, aka DJ Slope, aka Slopes. This man has been all these things. This man has been around on the internet for as long as I can possibly imagine in some way, shape, or form. Heck, he's even made it onto that old bastion of celebrityness, which is terrestrial TV, if I may say so, sir.
You're bringing that up. Yeah, we can talk about that.
We can't go on it. We cannot go on a journey through your life. You seem to not be that keen on that, but let's face it.
No, I'm more than keen. It's just funny that, when you get to a certain point of notoriety online, you will have your detractors, and I'm just very surprised they haven't ever found that, because there's plenty to talk about there.
Why would? If anything, they're just jealous.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
right.
Jealous people don't like being told they're jealous. So should we go back to the beginning, as I say?
If we may, let's, because I think it sort of frames everything and it helps people understand, your relationship with video games.
Yeah, sure.
If we may jump in the Wayback Machine, set it to somewhere, I presume in the 80s, and ask you to step out and talk us through your first memory. My first memory of video games isn't certainly playing them, but watching it. And then obviously your counter memory, which would be your first physical ownership of a video game machine.
Okay, so 1983 was when I was born, and not long after, my mother bought an Amstrad CPC 464, wow. And that pretty much just became mine as soon as I was able to do more than smack it.
So, Slope, may I ask what possessed your mother that day? Because this was a purchase for herself, the CPC.
I don't know. I have no idea why she bought it. I mean, she was a gamer of that generation. She wasn't like, she doesn't play games nowadays unless it's puzzle games on your phone, very typical mum in that sense. Candy Crush, all that sort of thing. But back then,
I bet she's one of those sort of worldwide mastodons of that environment though.
Well, I mean, she was a gamer in the sense of like, a lot of games back then would pick up and play arcade games. And that's what I grew up on. And that's what she would play. So a lot of the stuff I don't remember the Amstrad being used for anything, absolutely anything except for gaming. Wow. So she would have games, Gallagher rip-offs and stuff like that, or whatever it may be, Pac-Man type games. And I remember her playing a lot of games like that, and that was games that I was really into as well. I got really into things like Dizzy. He was like definitely my first like mascot obsession, I suppose. I remember drawing him and doing all that sort of stuff. And on the small estate I lived on, everyone seemed to have Segas, except for one person had an NES. And I remember going in there and seeing Mario run across the screen on the NES, the first proper Super Mario Brothers game, and thinking, this is a bit crap compared to what I'm playing on my Amstrad. But it's because I was so brainwashed, and so I was like such a mummy's boy that I wasn't going to let anything take me away from that. You know what I mean?
Why does that happen to us as children? We will defend the worst amount of pixels going.
Oh, yeah.
There's absolutely no... there are definitely some good games on the Amstrad, but nothing. There is not a single game out of the hundreds of thousands, maybe not that many, but thousands of games on that system that comes close to the original Mario. But I convinced myself it was a better system. One day, I reckon it was 1991, we had a family friend that worked at Invicta Radio, if you remember Invicta FM, and they had a fireworks show for Halloween, and I went along and I saw this massive bus there, Halloween of 90. I want to say 91, possibly 92, but I think it was 91. It would have been 91, actually. It definitely was 91. And I remember seeing this massive bus there and it had a big blue logo, Sega, on it. I don't know what this is. And I went on there. And I was really obsessed with what they had going on downstairs. I'm like, oh, this is still gaming. I'm still interested in this. And they had a video game of Moonwalker. And I was in love, absolutely in love with anything, that Moonwalker game movie. I saw Michael Jackson live on his Dangerous World tour at Wembley when I was a kid. And I was really into like Michael Jackson.
So Slopes, pause, rewind. You can't let that. I've never met anyone in all my days that's seen the Immortal One live. What was that like?
I've seen him twice. No, I saw him live once, and then the second time I saw him, I'll tell you about that one. I'll get to that. That's many, many years later.
Okay.
Unreal. I mean, I was in the seats, so he was very much a spec, and you're watching the screen more than him.
Yeah.
And I do remember, like, the security kept having to come up and tell me to get off the seats. You know those seats that, like, flip up.
Yeah.
You get off them, plastic seats. And I was standing on it. I was such a small kid, but I had a little hat on. I was so young, I didn't understand. My mum, I remember mum pointing to me, someone there, queuing up to get. We were all queuing up to get into Wembley Stadium. And he goes, "Look, he's dressed up like Michael Jackson." I'm like, "He isn't. Michael Jackson's not black." And I couldn't work it out. But he was dressed up in his dangerous days. I'm sorry, his bad days. I couldn't work it out. Not as bad. Sorry. Thriller days. He was dressed up like that, and I hadn't seen a lot of the videos. But I was obsessed. And anyway, pre-days of MTV, it couldn't readily easily get hold of these music videos.
No, I think the world was definitely more mysterious a place due to our actual lack of knowledge. And a lot of the stuff was kind of bolstered by people's opinions in your family that you grew up with. It wasn't ever actually presented as fact. You kind of just had to make your best of what you kind of saw on the 4 channels that we had available to us.
Oh, for sure. For sure. So, yeah, I I saw him live. It was still, I ended up, reason I'm actually called DJ Slope is because I DJ and I end up doing the DJ circuit at a lot of festivals. So I've met and not only just seen, but also met the majority of like my music heroes. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Prodigy or Keith Flint before he died, which is my biggest gripe. But like all these bands and these musical artists that I've seen, no one ever held a candle to what Michael Jackson could do. He was an entertainer first, but also like an incredible musician. No one compared. And that Dangerous, from what I've seen of all these different tours, because I was a bit obsessed with him. That was his best tour as well. So I'm very happy to say I saw him on his Dangerous World tour. If we're going to skip forward many, many years later, he was also accepting an award, the World Music Award in 2005-ish, something like that. And I went up to London, and that was the most bogus, crazy time ever, because I couldn't get people to come with me. It was a middle of a week thing, and I went up there on my own because I've never gone to a concert on my own. But that was I just can't not go and see Michael Jackson. This would be like maybe the last chance I'll ever get to see him. He didn't actually even sing. He just came out, sung one word, "We are the world," and that was pretty much all he did.
Wow.
But, I saw people that had surgically changed their chin to look like Michael Jackson. I saw people that had remortgaged their house from different parts of Europe to get over here just to see him. Like that was the hardcore, obsessive, like mental fans. And even for me, I was like, geez, okay, this is crazy. And I remember, so I had a ticket for seating, and then one person came up to me, I go, I've got a ticket for standing, but I have trouble with my legs. Did you want to swap? And I'm like, you're scamming me. And I'm like, I don't know what to do here. And I went, okay. And I swapped the ticket over because I had a much better ticket now standing. And I'm like, oh my God. And they let me in, so it was a legit thing. I was like, whoa, I thought I just got scammed there. Anyway, I managed to get in, and I was 3 away from the front, standing there. You know, when you watch those award shows where you have like people in those sort of pits sort of thing next to the stage? I was standing in there, and it was so weird because this side, you had like all of us in the crowd, and over that side above there was all tables, and you had like Paris Hilton, and I want to say Will Smith, and all these crazy like A-list celebrities. And, you know, it was an award show, so you had like Beyonce would come out and all these other people and everyone. But then when Michael Jackson came out, all of the stars were standing on their table to get a picture of Michael, because he's beyond famous, isn't he?
He is.
And I remember there was this girl next to me who just started fainting. I'm getting all goosebumpy thinking about it because it was just ridiculous. Like, so the whole award show happened. He came out, he accepted his award up on some mental podium really far away, and then all these kids. And like there was teenagers and adults, and they all came out in this big long line, and they all had arm in arm. I'm getting like proper goosebumpy talking about this. So basically, everyone started singing "We Are the World, We Are the Children" on loop, and it felt like it went on for ages before he came out. And there was like everyone was just, you couldn't hear the words because people were screaming so hard, because I was just surrounded by the most hardcore fans.
Wow!
And there was a girl next to me that just started like literally like not being able to stand up and not being able to handle. I'm like, you've got to get up, because I've been talking to her like all day. I'm like, you've got to get up. He's about to come out, lifting her up. And I remember looking in front of me, and he was like right there, and he put his hand out, and I was like there. I was like this, couldn't reach him, but I was like,
Oh,
that's the closest I've ever come to Michael Jackson. But
if I could,
we have well past that.
Listen, what you've just described, I want someone to paint that near touching of hands, like the.
I tell you what, I've watched the clip. There's not many good clips of it. I've found clips online of when it was broadcasted. You cannot fucking see me, and it's so annoying. I can see when he puts his hand out, and I'm like, I'm there. You can't see me, and I remember seeing it, and I'm like picturing it a bit better in my head and nostalgically, but like, yeah, it was insane. It was insane.
That's
just that was like that wasn't really seeing him live. That was just seeing like being a part of the obsessive nature of Michael Jackson's fans for like a short period and seeing two different things. I remember seeing him live as a kid, and Criss Cross was his supporting act. Do you remember Criss Cross?
Wow.
Jeans on back.
They're going to make you jump.
Yeah.
They are. I've got the old jeans
I'm
back to
dressed
front,
as them today, look.
Yeah. Have you got your clothes back to front? You got your hat back to front? Here we go. Let's go Criss Cross. Here we go.
I have as well. Look.
Yeah. That's not good for the branding.
It's
right. So, but anyway, that's my history of Michael Jackson.
Okay.
History of gaming.
Let's rewind you then back to your young self because I'm as equally interested in a double-decker bus branded with Sega, full of.
I think I remember a Sega bus.
Yeah,
sure.
So I remember seeing a Sega bus, and I saw the Michael Jackson video game, and I'd already been playing the Michael Jackson game on Amstrad, the Moonwalker game, and obviously Mega Drive one was better, but no. Amstrad one's better to me. I'm convincing myself. There was Chuck Rock and a few other things, and then they said, "Do you want to go upstairs and check out the new game?" And I'm like, "Yes." And I went upstairs and I saw Sonic the Hedgehog, and I played Sonic, and it was Sonic 1, and I was like, I couldn't fight it anymore. I'm like, no, this is better than every
I was going to say, what part of your
Yeah.
brain was going to tell you that this could be done on the Amstrad?
Rolling on the Ropes has nothing on this, you know.
Nothing.
And there was no convincing me after that. And I remember my granddad came in. He goes, "Aren't you supposed to jump in that ring at the end of the level?" I'm like, no. It just tells you got your rings. I knew nothing about Sonic or anything, but I was just like, this is mind-blowing, incredible. And in that Christmas, I got a Mega Drive, and then I just became, went from there. Mega Drive I actually went to the PlayStation instead of the Saturn. To the PlayStation. I ended up already by that point getting into retro gaming because we moved house and we met a neighbor that had a Master System collection, an incredible Master System collection. They sold it all to me so that they could, as a kid, I spent all my Christmas money on buying their entire Master System collection. I had the Mega Drive converter. So I had a decent Master System collection as a kid, but it wasn't, something I'd built up myself. It was just, here's a load of games.
Yeah.
Went from there, and then from that one on, I started getting them all. I got a PlayStation 2 first, but then I also got an N64, and then every system since.
One question, if I may. While I was researching your good self, I found out that you cited Fast Food Dizzy as a standout title for yourself.
The first game I ever completed.
Was it? Now, all my friends at school talked about Dizzy all the time, and I thought, I want in on this action. And I went to the shop, and the only Dizzy game for sale, and I'd heard them talking about these amazing adventures where they'd sort of traded a spoon with a dragon and all this amazing story. And I saw Fast Food Dizzy on the shelf, and I thought, that's that egg. I need it. I got it home, and it was basically I want to say a very sexy, though. The artwork, I remember one level where there was hedges almost in the hedge maze and you were chasing food around. Aesthetically very pleasing, but it wasn't what I wanted. Did you know what Fast Food Dizzy was going in, or is that just something?
I probably didn't have an official copy of Fast Food Dizzy, if I'm honest. There was about 4 or 5 of us that had Amstrads. So one of us would get a game for Christmas or birthday or whatever it may be. And we even had like friends that would get them. So it was just like we would have these incredible mixtapes of like of video games because we would all just lend each other our video games. I remember kicking off something chronic when I got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game for the Amstrad. And back then I was still trying to convince myself it's just as good as the one in the arcade. And no, it wasn't the arcade one. It was the normal scrolly NES one. But I still thought it was the best version. And it you had to put a code in from the manual. So Shredder would say B7 or whatever, and you'd have to like, there it is.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to take a picture because of the way it was like black ink on like really dark purple paper. So even when you took a picture, we tried to take a picture, get it developed, then hand over to one of the other kids. You can't read it. So I remember we even having to get little graph paper that we nicked from school and then writing it down.
We used to do that.
Wow. So bloody copy protection. Yeah. Can't you just let us pirate your games?
What's wrong with these guys?
Yeah.
So here's a question for you. I like to think of my coming of age as a gamer was when I bought a console with my own actual physical wages. And for me, I would say the first console that I bought with my actual physical wages was, let's say it's for argument's sake, it was a PlayStation when it launched. I think I might have bought a Jaguar bizarrely with wages, but I must have been feeling a little bit crazy on cider at the time. But it was a PlayStation 1. What was that first machine where I would say you came of age as a gamer and you bought it with your own money? I think in retrospect, there probably were a lot of trades going on as well. Like I would divorce my SNES collection to cash out to get the N64.
I mean, I don't remember. I went through a bit of a retro phase even during the Mega Drive era.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I did want to go back and play my Amstrad sometimes, because I had that nostalgia to the games, and there are some good games for that system. And I would still go back and look at my magazines and stuff. But so I probably spent my money on something like an Atari 2600 or something like that at a boot fair. But if it was like a new system out, I probably didn't buy myself my own system. I'm struggling to think of anything before the Dreamcast timeline that I didn't get as a Christmas present.
Maybe mine was Amiga 500. I think was the first one I bought with my own money. I actually went sideways from Mega Drive to Amiga 500, but that was the Mega Drive was a Christmas present. But the Amiga 500, I saved up my first job and bought for that.
Incredible system. I remember a neighbour had said that they were getting rid of their Mega Drive, but I was just so loyalist to every system I had. I was like, really, you're getting rid of your Mega Drive for what? This? And I went around there and saw Shadow of the Beast. I'm like, bloody hell, this is really hard to convince myself this doesn't look good.
I remember when I was at school, there was kids had the C64, the Spectrums, and we used to go around and play on each other's. But when it was Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, I mean, there was pitched battles over them. If you had one or the other, people were fighting in the playground.
I was one of the less fortunate kids that had an Atari ST in the playground in a sea of Amiga. But to be honest, it galvanized my friendships for many years because there weren't many of us, and it kind of bonded us together in this sort of special elite little clique of Atari ST owners. Yeah. So it's funny how it forms these strange bonds.
Yeah.
So Slopes, if I may, we've talked about your history and all that sort of stuff. Is there one gaming franchise that you would throw down behind hard as being, you're going to go to a desert island, you can have your choice of any machine, it can be a PS5, a Series X, it can be a 2600, and one game?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because I would say my favorite franchise is probably Sonic, but I don't really care for the 3D games that much. I've got nostalgia for some of the earlier ones, like the Adventure and stuff, because I just played them through a lot. But I feel like I'm a bit more grown up now. If I'm going to be honest with myself, like Metroidvanias, some of these Metroidvanias that they've come into nowadays, I feel like these are really the natural progression to doing what they wanted to do back in the side-scrolling days, but with no limitations. Like things like Ori and the Blind Forest, I was like blown away by what I was playing on. I was just like, this is incredible. Like everything about it done clever camera tricky that you see in movies. Whoa, okay, that's there. I didn't see that thing. It was on the screen the whole time. And the music, like proper orchestral, like you're watching a Pixar movie, and the animation changing into certain elements. You play something like a Spider-Man game now. You're like, this. I'm watching a movie, and I actually feel like I'm interacting with it rather than just push the button like quick time event. This is incredible. And like the Uncharted games, and if I was going to answer the question of what would I play if I was going to be on a desert island, it would probably just be an arcade game, because it'd have to be a game that I can constantly go over and over and over again. So they're two different answers. I don't know. Like I've pumped an absurd amount of time into Crazy Taxi, Galaxian. Sorry, I'm more of a Galaxian guy. Is insane. I way more time than I should have done when I was researching for that video. I was like, okay, I understand the hook.
Yeah. There's always just one more play with them. Just one more go. Just one more go.
Yeah, maybe Binding of Isaac, because I just can't not keep picking that game up. I'm weirdly obsessed with that game. Stuff like that. Pikmin, I will play every Pikmin day of release, and I don't normally do that. I mean, I'm really excited for Tears of the Kingdom, but I still not bought it. But Pikmin, I will play that day of. Obsessed with Pikmin.
What about, you mentioned that, with your fair children, you play a little bit of Minecraft. Do you not see that as your perfect desert island game?
Yeah, I could see. it would almost be good to give me something like that on a desert island, because there's just so much endless possibilities there. You know, like it's not my sort of game, in all honesty. But yeah, I mean, I could see.
It wasn't mine.
Like it's not really for me, if I'm honest. But I reckon if I was a kid nowadays, my God, I'd be all over Minecraft.
It's the levels of it. We played through it on the show, and we beat the Ender Dragon, all of us together, and it was possibly one of the most unifying and rewarding experiences I've ever been involved in.
It's insane, like the amount of it's virtual Lego. You can do whatever you want.
I mean, my daughter started playing when it first came out. She's now 18 and streaming it on Twitch and still plays it. She has put thousands and thousands and thousands of hours into this game, and there's no chance of her even slowing down on it, because it's just endless, and she streams 3 times a week Minecraft.
It's blasphemous for me to say, like, that games are getting better, but it is true. You know, I'm obsessed with the history of retro games. But I play a lot of new games, and you know, I look back at the games I used to play, and I used to put some serious time into, and I'm like, really, like Terminator for the Mega Drive is a 4-hour game. You know,
it literally was,
and it's very flawed. You know, you can play something like, I mean, obviously they're different types of games, but you get what I'm saying. Like, take nostalgia out of the picture. Streets of Rage 4 is probably the best Streets of Rage game.
Oh, like, yeah. With the pixel one on, though, it has to have the pixel filter on for me. It doesn't feel right. It looks too clean.
Mm-hmm. No, I get it, but I promise you, if they had those capabilities when the original came out, it looked like what Streets of Rage 4 looks like now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I know I'm lying to myself with this. Just a few things on the way through. Obviously, I want to get to the point where you start your YouTube channel, but I think it's all good. I'm loving it. I'm just mindful of your time.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So obviously, at some point in time between leaving school, you go through the sort of maturation process, and you kind of start dallying around with being a DJ, like many of us kind of wanted to or dreamed of being at the time. But you realize that ambition, and now you are a renowned DJ, much sought after, if I might say so.
So basically, what happened there was I've always been into music, and not so much the top 10 of. I mean, obviously there was always, as a kid, you're more into it, but I was really into like rave culture, but just way too early for it. You know, I was too early to go to Moon Dance and all that sort of stuff. But I was really obsessed with following that style, and I'd be more interested in buying those plastic cased cassettes full of all those DJ sets.
What was your favourite DJ cassette tape box set? Was it like Dreamscape or Carl Cox's Birthday at Fiberlight, or were you?
I had this. It was actually. I mean, I can't remember my cassettes too well, but I did have a CD, and I found it recently on YouTube. I can't think what it's called right now, but it was a Happy Hardcore CD, and the first track of number 2, which I'm sure was by Slipmat. It might have been Hype. I can't remember, but it was a Happy Hardcore remix of Tubular Bells.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's when that bass drops. Boom, boom, boom,
I think my greatest memory of that era.
Yeah,
I went to Ibiza, me and my sister.
Oh wow! No, I never did the Ibiza thing.
I've done it twice, and I saw Carl Cox mixing 4 decks.
Oh wow!
And there was no dancing. You were just watching Carl Cox.
He's a legend. Some of the stuff he does. Okay, what are you doing now? Like he took complexity of DJing to another level when people were still just beat matching. So, but no, basically, I was always into that style, and you know, I think the first, even though it's commercial, I mean, you remember I was 6, maybe, I don't know, was probably 2 Unlimited, No Limit, buying Smart E's Sesame's Treat on cassette tape, never knowing, didn't really get the drug reference in Smart E's. And obviously E's are good by Shaman. I never, not getting all this sort of stuff, but really into Robert Miles. I remember seeing The Prodigy and that being a bit, I mean, I was really into like One Love and things like that as a youngster, and Outer Space and stuff. But when I remember when I literally remember sitting on the living room floor, the same house where I got my Mega Drive, and watching Top of the Pops, and then playing Firestarter. And I remember even my mum was like, "This is a bit. What is this?" Keith Flint's waving his hands on his mohawk, and I'm like, I want to be like that guy. Like, I was like, whoa, that is amazing. Like, that blew me away. Can
I throw this down for you? For me, Music for a Jilted Generation is not only probably one of the best CDs of the 90s, but possibly Prodigy's best work, in my humble opinion, because it represents sort of that classical music stylings that they've got, but obviously without crossing into sort of Fat of the Land territory.
It was the middle ground, wasn't it?
It was, and I like Fat of the Land, but for me, Music for the Jilted Generation, Voodoo People, some of the more popular ones on there, maybe I'm not, have been worn down on me a little bit. But for the most part, I find that from beginning to end, possibly one of the best pieces of music ever performed.
I feel like they've gone back to their roots more because Fat of the Land is a heavier album. It's insanely good, like the riffs, even like that little, like, when Breathe comes on, it's just like sheer, you go mental for it. But it was pure rave, wasn't it? Experience. But when they did Jilted Generation, I remember hearing because I was really quite anti-heavy rock music. I really didn't like it, but I didn't really realize I was like literally headbanging like a nutter to things like No Good Start the Dance.
Yeah.
But it still has that element about halfway through for the rest of it where it turns back into Experience with that. And it goes back into like proper rave music. And it was that perfect blend of both. And I'm like, so many people have tried to replicate it, but that hardcore, the originators, there's so much raw energy with those early. My God, it's so good. And I feel like they've gone back to that in their they have more ravey tracks on their newer albums, like Invaders Must Die and stuff. It might be a bit more formulaic now, but I think it's incredible.
It's going to the mainstream as well. They were one of the originals to go mainstream and and prove that it isn't just an underground scene.
I remember. I remember
those songs.
Seeing them before. I was probably 16 first time I saw them, and
oh wow. Well, wow, was that like literally Fat of the Land era? Was that?
It was pre that, so it was.
Oh wow!
It was before that had come out, so they were kind of in this middle ground of where I think they wanted to embrace their new style and their new music, but was still sort of probably figuring that out. So there was some festivals.
My God, what a risk! Because that is so heavy compared to their.
Yeah,
I mean, like
when I first heard the Fat of the Land and saw that sort of crab on the cassette tape that I'd bought, I remember thinking, this had better be more like Voodoo People, and then you put it in and it's like, oof, I don't know. And then you hear it the second time, and as you say, Breathe With Me and other bits and bobs like that, they kind of hit you and you're like, actually, this is acceptable. It's not quite what I wanted, but as I always say, never ask people what they want. I should just get more of the same, give them something different and see what happens.
And I really liked Always Outnumbered, Never Outgunned, which is more of a solo project than a collaborative Prodigy album. But like, I can listen to that from beginning to end. You got that first track, which just tickles the Prodigy fans out there. But the rest of the album is essentially a solo album, and it's awesome. It's awesome.
And to be honest, I'm happy with that because I think that leans more back to music for the listen. Sir Slopes, we're way off track here. I don't even know how I ended up talking about cassette version.
We got very similar interests, right? So I was really into that style of music, but I was more of a video gamer. Big time. And then we moved to a pub when I was 15. About 15, I think it was.
Dangerous times.
Yeah, my parents moved in and we were like looking after this pub for about a year.
Yeah.
And I went from being the shy, big fat glasses with sellotape on and nerd to the cool kid of the village. And like all of the young adults were like hanging out of me, and we got DJs in, and my mum, we would obviously get like Elvis-y sort of people in, impersonators and whatever else for like everyone, but we would also have these Friday nights. It turned into like a proper haven, and we'd have drum and bass DJs in there before drum and bass was really big. We'd have like Ram parties and all this sort of stuff. And I got really into like just being obsessed with what these DJs were doing. And this was during the days of like where trance was really big. Yeah. System F, all that sort of stuff. And so I just I need to learn how to DJ. And I was more fascinated with the lighting setups that they had to begin with, weirdly enough. But either way, I got into DJing, and then I just became, it took over so much that gaming sort of just fell off a little bit. And I literally played Wipeout 2097, which I'm trying to see if I've got it here on my shelf. I played Wipeout 2097. There it is. This game was the only game I played for about a year. absolutely obsessed with DJing. It just completely took over my life, and I would just play Wipeout 2097 for the entire year and virtually nothing else. All my mates were starting to get N64s by that time, and I was just like, it doesn't compare to Wipeout, and that was just all I cared about. So I started hitting hard with DJing. I was doing wedding DJing just for the money, and then I would go home and spend all that money on buying whatever the latest Positivia releases. I'm sorry, but
you can't tell me you're a wedding DJ without telling me your best wedding DJ story. Like, what's the most obscene thing you've seen at a wedding?
So I would always do these. I got into like heavy rock as later got on with Slipknot and whatever else. Eventually, I did lean into that heavy rock music. I started DJing at Download Festival and things like that.
Wow.
But so I would go to I'd do weddings. And I'd have my headphones on. Can the bride and groom come to the dance floor for their first dance? And my heart will go on, like we playing or whatever on this side. But over on this side, I'm just holding the headphones, doing this, pretending I'm like listening to Celine Dion, but actually in my head it's like, I put my fingers into my. It's like going on my headphones. But I remember once I didn't have the volume down on my side, so they're dancing on there. I dig my time. Start screaming out. I'm like, whoa. So I was just like, put it down. Some people laugh. Some people look fucked off.
Well, it would
so
be.
I had to, what's happened there? And let's give it up one more time for the final time, for the first time. I've never done it again. That's probably the only time. The first gig I did was actually at a primary school. And I'd bought all of this gear. I'd said I'd do it was my little sister's primary school, and I was playing things like bloody the Tubular Bells, Happy. I didn't know what I was doing. Tubular Bells, Happy Hardcore to all these like literally 5-year-olds, and then I was setting off all these smoke alarms with these homemade speakers. It looked like such a bodge job of a setup.
It sounds like your career in DJing at the time represents exactly where the UCP is right now.
It was ridiculous, mate. And I remember I set off all these smoke alarms by setting all my smoke machines off, and they set the fire alarms off, and all you could hear is screaming. All the kids are holding their ears, screaming and crying whilst I'm playing Tubular Bells. It was the most ridiculous setup.
I'd have been in the car. I'd have been in the car park banging out shapes to the fire alarm. If I'm honest with you, in my youth,
I never got invited back. I remember like coming out of the decks and break dancing, the only two things I could ever do in front of the kids, and then kicking over my speakers and the music. It was the most ridiculous thing. But so anyway, I got really into DJing. I ended up doing a lot of the clubs, but I sort of got typecast as a metal DJ. It's just what it is. I basically ended up getting my own TV show, and I used that to propel my DJ. I went, look, hey, I don't know if you know, but I've got this TV show coming out. Want me to DJ in your club? And they're like, yes, that'll do.
Wow.
So I DJ'd there, but they only had DJ slots for metal DJs. I mean, do you know how to do metal DJ? And I'm like, well, yeah, I do, but I'd rather do electronic and whatever else, hip hop or anything really. I really went all over the place with my DJing, but metal is really hard to mix. And I get quite bored. The song ends, play the next song. You're a standing jukebox for a lot of the time, and until you start playing Prodigy, and then you start mixing up, and then you go too far with it, and then all the metalheads are like, Disturbed back on.
Well, keeping the metalheads happy for one moment, can we? I don't quite know how to get to this section, but I'm wary of the time, and I think most people that listen to this show will know you from your YouTube persona. Now, talk to us initially about what made you get up one day and go, this YouTube thing might catch on.
Well, I was also always fascinated with the history of gaming. Absolutely fascinated. I remember talking to my friends, knowing they're not as interested in it as me, but trying to bring up a conversation that they might want to talk about. Oh, yeah, did you know about the ET carts in the desert? No, Dan. Oh, okay. They're just not interested. They know about... Yeah, they know about Doki Doki Panic, and they know about the ET cart thing. It's just like that. The knowledge stops there. They're really just. I'll play the new GTA when it comes out, but can we get off this subject now, Dan? Okay.
Yeah.
But there I was going around boot fairs buying every single thing that wasn't current generation. Like I was obsessed with retro gaming, which obviously led me to YouTube, watching other YouTubers. But at that point, I didn't really know of the size of what YouTube was in regards to the retro gaming channels out there. I knew your Angry Video Game Nerds. I knew your Larrys. I knew like when Ashins was talking about it back then, and a few other people. Yeah, Happy Console Gamer, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But And I was like, I want to do this. Because what happened is I remember going to like retro gaming shops and whatever, and you'd have these youngsters. I say youngsters, they weren't that much younger than me at the time, but they would go there and they were talking in their little crew. They were obviously watching this stuff as well. Like, oh, did you know that about the ET carts in the desert and the V8 crash of 1983? And did you know about Mega Man was huge in the UK? And like, all this stuff. And I'm just sitting there like, no, that isn't our history. That isn't our history at all. In the UK, that was not our history. No. And I didn't want to be that arsehole that went up to them and like, actually. So I ended up like, if these guys are looking for, because it was a thing, wasn't it? Go on YouTube, find a bad game and then talk about it for half an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, you want real bad games? You go to the home computers, because there was a hell of a lot of shovelware on there, and they would absolutely obliterate whatever you were finding on the Atari 2600. And like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is 10 times much a better game than half the stuff I grew up with. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. So I started up a channel, didn't upload for about a year because my interest changed more into like, I actually want to be a bit more documentarian. I want to talk about more like the proper history rather than being a character. In fact, I was going to be an animated character to begin with a little moustache that moves, so I don't have to animate the mouth. And I was going to be like this, hey, how you doing? Sort of like,
if that had taken off, would you have contemplated growing a moustache?
Well, it wouldn't have ever taken off because I never uploaded anything. I never even created anything. I think I one evening made what the character would look like on my PC and stuff, but I never created anything because I was just like, I'm not happy. This looks like I'm trying to rip someone off.
Yeah,
you know what I
mean? Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not entertaining for me. And I'm trying to find things that I don't know about to talk about because it's fun to take the piss out of it. So I remember watching the real turning point was Angry Video Game Nerd was obviously a character, he's pooing on cartridges and throwing up on things and swearing over the top. And that's his thing, which is more than good. That's what he does. But I remember once he did a video looking at the history of Sword Quest games. I knew nothing about the history of the Atari 2600 Sword Quest series and all about the chalice and the sword. And I was like, that was so fascinating. I was so more entertained by that than anything else that these character sort of YouTubers were doing. And there was 1,000,001 Angry Video Game rip-offs at the time. I remember Lazy Game Reviews did a documentary about the history of calculators and the history of DRM. Not in any way interesting to read that title, but you watch the video, even if you got no interest, and I've got no interest in the history of calculators. My God, that was an interesting video. And I just find that stuff so, and I went, this is the angle I want to go down, where it's a lot more looking at the history. It still had a bit of humor in there, but really the history. It took me a long time to build up the courage because I was scared of my voice and the way I looked or anything like that. You have a lot of, anxiety in a sense of that sort of thing. Yeah. I don't suffer from that, but you're worried. And I did that first video, promoted it on the Retro Gamer forum, which you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to go in there and blast your videos, but I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to promote. And and I remember having 5 views or whatever. And they're like, hey guys, what do you think? I'm looking, 21 views, 22s. Oh, hang on, I think this is me doing this.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
And I'm
viral.
Like,
I'm viral. Let me check again. Oh yeah.
Every time I look at this, I go up a view. This is nuts. Like trying to show my mates they're not that interested. But then I woke up the next day and there was like a couple of pages of people saying like, this is a really good video. Like this is really good, really good. And I'm like, wow.
Oh wow.
That was so intoxicating. I'm going to do this every month, and every month turned into every fortnight, and every fortnight turned into every week. And I don't even know when I started. I've been close to like 8 years or something like that. 8 years later on when I podcast of you guys.
Yeah, 8 years ago, I think is from what I can see your first upload on YouTube.
Yeah. The first one was actually a month earlier than that because I had to delete it. I used BBC footage. Again, I didn't know what I was doing. That got flagged. I deleted the video and I've re-uploaded it now as later on, but with that taken out.
How did you originally get into doing your Kick Scammers series? Was it a bad experience?
No, I mean, I was always I was interested in doing just videos on things that I found interesting. That's all it was really. And Kickstarter, super fascinated by that. And the first video wasn't a scam video. The first video was, here's 10 games that almost got funded, but didn't. You're never going to get to play them. So 10 games you'd love to play, but you're never going to. And it was more like...
I like that particular video, actually. Yeah. It's one that stuck with me.
I was never interested in Kickstarter until watching Kickstarter. Didn't appeal to me until I watched your videos. And then I just got, oh wow, Kickstarter's really interesting actually.
Oh man, it's one of those things like people like. I get so many comments. People say, "Oh, I'm never going to use Kickstarter." Thanks, Dan, for helping me. I'm like, no. Kickstarter's good. Kickstarter's really good when used correctly, and it helps so many incredible game developers, especially get their audience out. And
I funded a couple of books on there, and they are so rewarding. And this is one that's obviously come to fruition and paid off. I think there's the history of the PS3, which is coming, and I've got the Vita one as well.
Sandeep.
Yes, we're hoping to get him on the show actually, because I think when the PS3 one launches, it's just so fascinating. But the history in there is absolutely.
I could get him and show him on camera. I've got him up on my bookshelf up there. Yeah, he's a really good guy. I promoted his stuff. I backed a couple of his ones, and then he sent me the final one or something like that, or the other way around. I don't know. Really, really good guy, and the good reads, and he puts a lot of presentation. There's a lot of people that make books, and you're like, this looks like you've made it on Word and printed them out.
Yeah,
which isn't, it's just, they're doing the best of their ability, but that guy put some serious effort into not just the research, but the presentation.
The presentation in there is what I would call sort of classic gaming magazine era presentation in the way that, it's nicely laid out. It's got the popped up nuggets in there that you can just quick scan read if you want to. And this latest one, where he's involved people to, vote up the PS3 game, which is his latest project, is their favorite. And he's pushed me.
Mate, I'll tell you what, and he's not doing it for this reason. I'm sure he's not. I mean, I don't know, but it's a way of marketing yourself as well when done correctly. He's good at what he does.
Very good.
But his channel hasn't blown up to where it should be, in my opinion. Now doing this on Kickstarter, he's known to a dedicated group of people that are interested in that sort of thing, that he's actually good at what he does. And now he's where I've been successful on YouTube, he's been successful doing things on Kickstarter. And it's the same story with many other people. And rightfully so.
And one that really, sorry, George, interrupt there.
No.
One that I still think, and if you haven't seen this, if you're listening, you haven't seen this, your Amico documentary is phenomenal.
The Amico documentary,
is phenomenal. I mean, it's nearly 4 hours long, but soon, because of this whole saga with this console is fascinated me. And when I saw you done that, I thought, right, I got home from work one afternoon, I got a bag of popcorn, and I sat there and watched that right the way through. It is fantastic. And I remember we'd sort of spoke about this on messages, and you said, was it nearly 4 months it took you to
so basically if we're going to get nitty gritty with money on YouTube and stuff like that, as a YouTuber, you want to put your best content out November, December, because that's when that's when basically monetarily wise M&S and all your Coca-Cola or whatever are putting adverts on YouTube, not sponsorships, but they put their adverts on YouTube, and then for your CPM goes up. You earn a little bit more per 1,000 views as opposed to what you would do in January. January is your dead month. That's why in January, a lot of YouTubers, I'm not naming names, but I'm sure you know who they are, because everyone tends to do it. They put out compilations in January because it's easy to put out that content and really, really push yourself to the nth degree to release your best stuff in November and December, more so December. Oh, wow. So I thought to myself, everyone wants this bloody Amico video. Let's get it out for December. So I started working on it in October, and I didn't finish it until February. It's just, it is what it is. Unfortunately, I'm never going to push anything out. Maybe I'll do it as a part 1, part 2, but I was just like, no, this has to be one video. It has to be one big thing. I wasn't going to put out.
That's how magnum opuses go sometimes to Slopes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm super proud of that video.
And if anyone hasn't seen this, watch Slopes' video on Amico.
Yes,
it covers everything from start to right up to that date near the end. It is fantastic, and it fascinated me as well, because I mean, you were actually, I don't want to say the word victim, but you were sucked in on this yourself.
No. You know what? Like I hold my hands up. There was so many. From a I don't want to say filmmaker's point of view, because how big-headed do I want to be? But from a video creation point of view, there were so many angles that this was just, I knew it was going to work. I just kept putting it off because I knew it was going to be such a mammoth project. And I had no idea how long that video was going to be, because when I write scripts, like I've just done this Evil Dead video, 22 pages long. That'll be about 40, 50 minutes roughly. It's 1 hour, 5 minutes. So I know roughly how long a video is going to be based on how big my script's going to be. That one was just impossible to find out because that one I'd done in a timeline series event. So this happened this day, then this. And the way the script was written, you would have a date, a space, then a line of text, which I would say about that date, but I don't say the date in the video. And then the next one. So the video was seriously spaced out. So to give you an idea, 22 pages long to write up the Evil Dead video, but it was literally, it's written like a book, it's written like, with no links in there. It's just written the way it is. Because then I copy that and put it in as subtitles. But the Amico video, the research file, I think was about 300 pages. And then when I turned that into a script, it was over 200 pages. Taking bits out, putting the best bits in, whatever else. And yeah, it was over 200 pages, and it's not going to be 200. It's not going to be whatever that would be timeline wise, because you've got all those dates that I'm not going to say. So I didn't know how long it was going to be. Turns out 4 hours long. So yeah,
it had me gripped the whole way, that documentary. It's probably my favorite documentary on YouTube. I'm not just saying it because you're on the show. It's perfectly how you've done the whole timeline is superb. But one thing I want to ask you: have you heard from Tommy Tallarico since?
No.
You've not heard a word.
I mean, I hadn't spoken to him for, I don't even know what the time is, 6-9 months or whatever leading up to it. And what it was, he always said to me, and when I looked through our DMs, we're still friends on Facebook, weirdly. What was it? So I'd look on our messages together because I had to look back, and I've recorded, copied all of that in case anything goes missing, And I look and I'm like, for the most part, we didn't really talk about the Amico. We talked about like music or whatever else. But he did say to me, like, he really wants to come to England. And I do believe he believed himself when he was saying this. He would like to come to England. I've got a really good game room, a nice neon light in there. So it's really good for filming. There's actually a Street Fighter 2 documentary by Oliver Harper, and they did do some filming in the game room and made it look like a kid's bedroom from the 90s, and my son used it and opened up a Christmas present, and it was a Super Nintendo. It was for some good B-roll footage for the documentary. And I was like, you could come down to Tommy Tallarico. You can come down. I've got a daughter of 5. I've got a son of 8, a wife that's not that into gaming, just casual gaming. I love casual gaming. I love the Wii U and the Wii and obscure systems that are, with weird controls and whatever. So we're the perfect family. And he was like, yep, I want to come down. I'll give you an Amico. I'd already pre-ordered it myself anyway, but we'll come down, we'll give you an Amico. Because that sounds perfect for us to market it, as well as, I was genuinely interested as well. And obviously that date never came. And then I started seeing a couple of other of the most hardcore followers were getting them. And I messaged him and said, hey, are people starting to get Amicos? Saw the message, didn't reply. And I'm like, what's going on here then? And he's never replied ever. I never. That's a shame.
I used to think he was such a legend.
I did.
And then even when I used to see all the other, controversy around Amico, I used to think, nah, he's still a good guy. But that's when that's when I watched your documentary, and you highlighted the bits, and in no way at all are you saying he's a bad guy, but you're highlighting how he got drawn into the hump himself and how it all went wrong, and you just see how it just got completely out of control.
It did.
And what he was telling people, and what was going to. Anyone asked, you could have said to him, is Call of Duty going to be on here? Yep, I'm talking to them. Call of Duty's going to be on here. He seriously was. It was just out of control. It
was absolutely. There was a couple of games that were gory that people had asked, or like more horror based, or they had blood in, whatever. And they said, like, would you be able to get these games on Amico? Expecting him to say no, and he would say, not like that. But we are talking to them about possibly doing a PG-13 version. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. I mean, my list, I think it was either 147 or 157 games he'd either teased or confirmed or said we're talking to him. It's like,
I remember you put them on the side of the screen, didn't you, on the documentary?
Yeah.
You just kept adding to all these games he said were going to be, and there was this vast list of ridiculous games that are never going to run on this system.
Yeah, and then a lot of people, like for instance, the guy who made Worms. He'd said that there's a version of Worms coming out, which makes perfect sense for a system like that.
Yeah.
And the guy who made Worms says, "We've never spoken to you." No, it's not.
No.
And there was a lot of that sort of stuff happening. And even since I've made the video, I've had loads of people said, "Oh, we also said Calibri's going to come out for it as well. A new version of Calibri's coming out." They're working with what's his name, Ed Annunziata. So that's coming as well. And it's like, so there was more that I could have added that I didn't know about, because He was on so many interviews. It was bonkers. You would have channels. There was one that was less than, I want to say 20 subscribers. Yeah. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. You know, everyone's got to start somewhere. I had less than 20 subscribers at one point. But the fact that him as a CEO isn't spending the time to create the Amico. Instead, this person with less than 20 subscribers has said something. I don't think the Amico looks that bad. It didn't even have to be like hardcore criticism. It would just be something like that. He would then still use that. Oh my God, I've got to set the record straight. No, the Amico is really great. This is why. Let's have an hour and a half conversation about it.
He tried to take everything on, didn't he? He tried to take every bit of criticism and answer it. He tried
unreal.
He just got, he almost thought he was a one-man team and he had to do every side of the job. And it was just getting ridiculous. I mean,
it's not fair to say that wouldn't happen with the PlayStation or the Xbox because they're massively miles different leagues than what the Amico is trying to do. But if you compare it to the Evercade, there's a lot of people out there that say the Evercade's not for me, which makes complete sense. Everyone's got their opinion. I think the Evercade's awesome. But if someone says, I don't think the Evercade's good, you don't then have the head of Evercade go on there and say, no, it is really good. And this is why.
Yeah, it's just, it's just crazy. Me, myself as well, when I first heard about the Amico, I was actually very, very tempted by it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought, this is, for me, I think this is perfect for me, my wife, and my daughter. We can play this. I was really...
Oh, for sure.
But the more content that kept dribbling out, and then the issues, and then the dramas, and then your documentary, and you think, wow, it's a story in its own. It is a story.
Yeah, I mean, I'd started working on it, and I remember seeing the H Bomber Guy video pop up, and I'm like, whoa, have I just missed my opportunity to do this video now? Because I don't want to just repeat everything this guy's going to say. And then I watched it, and it was, I can't remember how long that video was, but say like 1 hour, only 10 minutes of it was based on, a very small amount of it was based on the Amico. And I'm like, okay, but this is good. This is looking at Tommy Tallarico as a person. I'm going to look into the Amico product, which is obviously going to include a lot of Tommy Tallarico, but it's more based on this is how, where we are with this Amico system. There was just so many different reasons to make that video. I mean, like I say, I got sucked into it because it was something that I was genuinely interested in, and I definitely fought for the system because in my mind, the biggest hurdle I couldn't get my head around was you would have the haters, the quote unquote haters, say, it's a scam. It doesn't exist. And I'm like, well, here's footage of someone playing it. So obviously it does exist. So what are you talking about? And it really, that was something I couldn't get my head around. I mean, these haters are just hating for the sake of hating. This is ridiculous. And then I listen in on Pat and Ian on the CU podcast. And then I hear them talk about the fact that, he's not a true Italian because he's not having the right pizza. And I'm like, what is going on? Are people just like hating on Tommy Tallarico because like he's not making the right pizza? And I'm like, you guys need to piss off. But you take away that top level of where it's hardcore hate to the point where you're now going after things about Tommy Tallarico personally. And the other 99% of stuff underneath that is legitimate concerns and legitimate reasons why you would be worried about the fact the system is not going to get made and is underpowered. And he's constantly saying yes to every single game. There's a Kool-Aid Man game coming out for it, which is genuinely something he said. A Splatoon-like game is coming out for it. And every single thing you could possibly... And it was just... the refundable, guaranteed 100% refundable deposits, which I put down $100 for myself to put down a deposit for this thing. All that money's gone. Like, there's so many interesting things about that side of it where those haters, quote unquote haters, are these are the things that you need to listen to, and that's what makes that's the stuff that needs to get told. I wasn't interested in attacking Tommy Tallarico as a person. I was more interested in explaining what's gone on wrong with this system. And in turn, that obviously attacks Tommy Tallarico, but that part of it is brought upon himself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the content creators are doing either podcasts or videos on parts of where it went wrong. Whereas yours, you start from the beginning, you go through, and it's not, like you say, it's not necessarily an attack on Tommy Tallarico. It is a documentary of a failing product with the lies and bits and pieces involved that Tommy Tallarico was heading up.
He played a part in that role, and therefore he needs to be in there, not possibly to be character assassinated to slaughter for maybe to bowl, but his interwoven within the tapestry of that story, isn't he?
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of channels out there. Goose is a fantastic channel to go and check out. But what they're doing is they're like I say, they are attacking him as a person in a sense of saying, did you realize a lot of the music he said he did wasn't made by him when he does his video game live shows? That's not actually him playing guitar. It's all fake. And I'm like, bloody hell. And I find this sort of stuff interesting, and it's good to talk about that. Wow. But for me, on the Amico video, that wasn't important to add into the video because it's not about the Amico. That's about him lying about other things outside of the Amico. So go and check those channels out for that sort of content. But for me, it was looking into the history of the Amico, and I felt like that was the fairest way to make that video, because it was a tough one to make, especially considering it's essentially 100+ videos into creating videos about failed Kickstarters and scammers and stuff like that. It's the scammer that scammed me. You know, there's your hook.
I'll also pop to anyone listening, if you're in the Discord, I'll pop a link to Slopes' YouTube channel, and I'll also link the Amico documentary in. It's definitely.
Well, thank you very much.
You have a spare afternoon or evening, get on there and watch it.
Yeah, watch it in parts.
It is fascinating.
Oh no, not to blow my own trumpet, but like I've heard people that I'm going to watch this in 4 parts or whatever else. They start watching it and then they don't stop.
No, I've done that. It's fantastic.
So yeah, I'm very proud of it. It's a good video.
I'm mindful of time to Slopes because I know that you've got commitments today.
It's all good. It's all good.
I'd love to have you back on because there's so many things that you've within your life experience at this point. You've been all over the world. You've even been immortalised as one of the as a rubber duck for numbskulls.
Oh my god, yeah.
Where is that? Because I'm
really sorry to say, like, I'd love to say I have been immortalised as a rubber duck. I haven't. They made concept art for me to be as a rubber duck.
That's like someone saying they've not met Jesus, but they're wearing his coat. That is phenomenal.
It is incredible. Wow. And obviously, I'm not taking it away. I couldn't be happier that they did that. But I'm not an actual rubber duck. Larry's got that treatment. I know Larry's an actual rubber duck.
I think they done Ashens as well, didn't they?
I think they did. Yeah, I love that company. They're a great company.
You put yourself down far too much. You've worked with some of the biggest brands, Sega.
That was the teardrop moment for me. Like, because I was 10 years, I was obsessed with Sega, and even though I missed out on the Saturn, I went back and I built up a big Saturn collection, and that's one of my favorite systems to go back and look at because there's just so much uncovered.
I agree. There's so much fresh content on the Saturn.
Big time. But like the day that I had someone from Sega message me and I work at Sega, like, we really like your stuff. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And that was the end of that. And nothing really happened. And then about a year later, like, did you want to come up to Sega and we want to show you something? I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'll definitely make that happen. Yeah. And I got off the train, and I'm like, where is the Sega building? There was all this construction work being happened over the other side of this bridge. And I look over and I see this big grey building with like some blue logos. I haven't got the great eyesight, but I was like, I kind of work it out. And then I got closer and I just saw that big Sega logo, and I was like, I can't believe what's happening. Like,
is that in
10-year-old me?
Was that in the office just off the M4?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
It's
they're not there anymore, are they?
No, they are.
Are they? Because I think that they.
Is that the one? I don't know if it's off the M4. I'm really bad with that sort of thing.
At one point in time, they had, and I don't know if they had when you went, but they had a copy of the Alan Prost 93 Williams that he raced at Donington Park with the cutout of the Sonic legs on it, which will always be, Senna did an absolutely great job at that race, but that car is immortal.
Sorry, it's going. Yeah, it's down in Brentford.
There.
It's in Brentford. No, they are still there. They've got a few floors there, but yeah, going there, and it was weird because it gets knocked down a bit because you expect Sega. I mean, it's Sega to own this entire building, but they actually only own like the top 2 or 3 floors, and there's like insurance people underneath them or whatever else. Yeah. They still have like mental signs at the top of the building that say Sega and stuff, but you go up there and you open the old elevator doors, and you just see like the massive Sega logo print across the front, and you're like, oh my god. And I was just like, I need a second before I ring that bell and go in there, because like 10-year-old me is screaming right
in
now,
my mind. This story should be accompanied by the "If you want to see paradise,
mate, I'll tell you what, like, yeah,
we look around and view it."
It was next level. Mad props to Sega, and they're a really cool company. Yeah, they've always been really nice
and
to me.
I think you're far too humble, because we talked about your terrestrial TV moment. You've DJ'd all around the world. You've been yourself with Slopes Game Room at various conventions all around the world. You've written for books and magazines, unless you correct me wrong. You've got a huge Discord that makes ours look like the crumbs that have fallen from the table of yours.
Right.
And generally, you've been around this, what I would call, burgeoning retro scene, especially in the UK, really as really for as long as it matters to be someone within that environment. Do you sometimes wake up and pinch yourself and think, hang on a minute, how did the guy organising trance and drum and bass nights as a 15-year-old dreaming about playing my Sega now sits here, full-time YouTuber, you've got your finger in more pies than a leper on a cookery course. You're literally what I would say the king of the UK.
Bloody hell.
Clip.
I'm not going to be able to get out of this room in a minute, man. Like, geez, like I tell you what, look.
Does it feel like you're living your dream?
I am. There's no shadow of a doubt. You know, I mean, and unless I'm a voice on The Simpsons, it doesn't get better than this. You know, like
you were a voice on The Simpsons. Let me write this.
No,
down.
I wasn't.
Oh,
you hook me up with that one. That'd be it. I think when a Hollywood star is a voice on The Simpsons, I'm like, that's it. I think that's like you've made it status.
It's the pinnacle, then, isn't it?
Yeah. But no. I'm buzzing for it. I really am. I love that, you know, even from like a family point of view, I love the fact that, you know, I can go take the kids to school and pick them up. And if there's I've got a school day, you know, with the parents or whatever, I'll go and help out and things, just like, because I've got that freedom to do that with this job and work my own hours. I absolutely detest working for corporations that, not because I'm, you know, down with the man, but like I hate that sort of mentality. Like like I've worked in sales before, where it's like I would get called in the office because I'm 1 minute late, but they don't take into account that I work through my lunch break. You know, things like that.
Yeah.
And I detest that sort of mentality. Your tie's not done up straight. You know, whatever else. Like get out of it, get off it. I hate that sort of mentality. But with that said, when I went to, I got asked to be on a careers day at school recently. And I felt a bit like a douche there because you're surrounded by ambulance workers and you're surrounded by scientists, like genuine, like incredible academics. And then you got me, and all the kids want to talk to the YouTuber with the plaque that they can have a look at. And can I touch your plaque? I touch the plaque, and all this other stuff. And they're like, you know, what's that? I mean, that's a Mega Drive. Ooh, you know, and it is important for me to go through that process of working in those jobs to get where I am today. I really do feel like everything I've learned, you know, like hitting targets, and I have my own personal targets now where I want to get this video done for that time or whatever else, and learning how to market myself, market the company, actually now relay that into what I do with my job. Sort of things I actually don't want to do that for you guys actually has relayed into what I do now as a YouTuber. And I think that has made this more than just a hobby. It is a job, but it's a job that I absolutely adore to do. And I mean, like I say, growing up before I was a YouTuber, I used to really chew off my mates' ears that weren't interested in retro gaming history facts, factoids and things, because they're not interested in it. Now I have the world as my canvas to talk to these people. You know, I've gone to the biggest convention hall in the world, essentially, the internet, and said, hey, anyone want to talk about retro video games? And like, yeah, like I found loads of people and I've made incredible friends. I talk to Kim Justice and people like that, like very regularly. We help each other out. It's perfect. And I tell you what, like my kids came in my office a couple of years ago. I remember this. I think it was my daughter or whatever. She came in, and I've got a picture on my wall of me with Larry and Ashins, Did You Know Gaming, Nostalgia Nerd, Kim Justice, and all these people next to each other. We all took this picture together, and I've got it framed on my wall. And they were like, are they your workmates? And I'm like, I mean, technically, yeah, they are. And I'm like, that is a freaking awesome group of people that I like to say are people that I admire and I get to work with in a way. I get to work alongside even.
As sort of cursory bystanders at something like OLL, it was wonderful to not only see all of you guys that we all watch on YouTube, and I'm sure everyone that is even slightly in the scene sees, but it was the camaraderie between you all which actually sort of bastioned it more, because it's it's hinted at, obviously, in the episodes that we watch and from all of you guys. But then, obviously, to see that manifested in real life, that you're just enjoying each other's company and you're enjoying making something out of what essentially is a hobby for every other human being on the planet. Now, this boils me down, if I may, to my last question. Again, mindful of the time, and if you're up for it, we'd love to have you on again for an even more relaxed chat. And as we say, when we have a guest on, that it's not just an interview thing. We want to intertwine you into it. You are literally a co-host officially now, and a Lord of Pharmacy. So,
don't tell too many people about the Lord thing.
You've come out of it with a knighthood, if nothing else. But I think my question, and I think it gets to me sometimes, do you find that although you approached this as a hobby because of your passion for gaming, has it watered down your passion and it's become a little bit more of a job, and therefore you feel sort of distance from what was once just an individual soloistic indulgence has now become something that you kind of have to share with millions, and I mean millions of your fans?
Yeah.
How do you weigh that up in your mind? Is it still something you can go to for enjoyment? You talked about the Switch, or is it like, I'm done with this now?
I can still go to do all of those things that I can for enjoyment. I don't DJ as much as I used to. Well, hardly at all. I used to, like I say, do clubs and festivals and stuff, and I haven't DJed in a club or a festival for years now. And I definitely don't do as much video gaming as I used to. But I do think that, virtually everyone, besides one or two people, do have their interests change over time. And for the most part, if you was a hardcore gamer as a kid, as in like, you would spend a lot of your time playing video games, you don't tend to play as much nowadays as you get older, because you've got other commitments and not just that, but other interests as well. And my other interest, my other commitment is obviously my family and spending time with the family, but the other interest is the fact of talking about those retro games and the kick scammer stuff. So the big difference from when I was younger is I definitely don't play as many games for enjoyment, because, like I say, I'm playing through games that are in some cases actually not good games, but I'm having to play them because it's it's part of the history. Like, for instance, Evil Dead: Hail to the King is not a good game, but and I spend hours and hours trying to find mobile games that I know I'm not going to enjoy, and then coming away not being able to find them in a lot of instances. But I get just as much as enjoyment out of creating a final product, this video, for instance, that I'm then going to put online, and I'm going to get to talk to people about that. And sometimes the devs will get involved. I get to speak to those guys, and all of that together, speaking to people that, I used to play this game, and they'll tell me an interesting story about it, even it's just like a nostalgia-filled passion thing. That is just as enjoyable, if not more, I don't know, as just constantly playing Crazy Taxi 25, 30 years ago, whatever it was.
Okay, well, before we mentioned to you at the start of the show that a very strange ethereal character is going to come and meet us at the end of the show.
Sure.
Talk about this week's new releases. Before we go there, it's only right and proper that we give you a platform just to, we always give to pump literally anything. Like, where can I get a Slopes hat? Where do people find you, and what sort of channels do you want them to find you on?
Go to that Google place that you might have heard of, and type the words in Slopes Game Room, and click on anything, whether it be YouTube, whether it be any of the social media pages, whatever. Patreon if you want, eh? Hey.
Even a digitized copy of Edward Scissorhands.
Half-ripped label.
Yeah. Woo. That's where this podcast went, isn't it? Like, straight out of the gate as well. It's crazy. But no, yeah, just go search on all those things. Go check it out. Hopefully you like what you watch, and if you do like it, go and subscribe. Like I say, by the time this people watch this video, my next video will be up, which is going to be Evil Dead: The Complete History. The history in the games. Looking at the entire history of all of the movies, looking at the history of the games. I managed to get 2 exclusive interviews from the Commodore 64 days. I got spoke to loads of people from the PlayStation 1, Xbox, and PlayStation 2 PC days. I even got Andy Campbell, Bruce Campbell's son, to be a part of it as well.
Wow.
So these projects, there's a reason I stay up till early hours in the morning working on them, but I think the end result is getting people like your viewers, hopefully, and many other people.
Definitely.
And interacting. That's what it's all about.
Perfect. Well, Sir Slopes, thank you for that so much. It's an absolute honour to have you on. With that said, I look out the window, take a little peek down the bottom of the drive, and there's a Nissan Bluebird just literally revving at its leash. It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingray's boot, what's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battlefriend all this week. These are new release highlights for the week June 12th to June 18th. Listeners, these are out in digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast in your feed, but could be. Oh, you know it, listener. They could be region dependent. Spring Stop Wow. Whoa. Here he is. RGT.
Yeah.
How are you seeing the Stingray? How are you seeing Ray this week?
Well, as I always say, he's always on topic, but he's wearing a lot of branded stuff this week, T-shirt, hat, and it says Stingray's Games Room.
Does it?
Yeah. DJ Stingray he is this week, so I don't know if he's trying to jump on Slopes' bandwagon.
Well, he's a man of the counterfeits. This doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so he's fully branded, and Wayne's with him today, but he's dressed as a little DJ, like as though he's going to be spinning some tunes later on. Yeah. He's got his cap on back to front like we're wearing. He's got a Prodigy T-shirt on.
Well, let's just have a look how I'm looking at Ray. You see, I'm seeing Ray this week as a walking Milky Bar that's melted in this red hot sun. And he's got sort of taffled in with the silver wrapper, and his mouth and eyelashes are silver. And Wayne's confused because he keeps trying to have a little nibble on him, but then he's getting an electric shock through his fillings because he's bit metal.
Wow. You definitely need more sleep, George.
I know. Sleep's a prerequisite for not seeing him in such a strange way. But we must turn to Sir Slopes, the second knight of the realm of Farmerton, and ask him. Obviously, you've probably never met Ray before. You might have. But how is he presenting himself to you?
I don't know. It looks like he's come straight off the Global Gladiators front cover. We're talking tracksuit bottoms. We're talking oversized jacket. That cap is definitely back to front. He's like, oh, what's this? What are you? You look like you're a contestant on the latest Nickelodeon TV show.
Wow. Don't look him in the eyes, Slopes. Don't look him in the eye, Sir Slopes. Don't. No. You'll become his next victim. Just look around the eyes, but never look in the eyes. He's a very strange one. Have you seen his son this week, Wayne? Slightly diminutive-looking chap.
No, I haven't. No. I heard Tommy Tallarico scored his life though.
Oh, what? Available from the UCP download section. Tommy Tallarico's new album entitled Wayne.
Don't look in the album notes. There might be a few other names.
Visions of Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay,
other albums are available.
I'm gonna look out, Wayne. Look out. Let me get this out of the boot. I'm picking up a copy of Dubium, which when I first compiled this together, I thought it said Do by Jim, one of our loyalist listeners.
Oh yes,
it's Dubium on the PC, out June 14th. Dubium is a survival deception game set in a near-future sci-fi environment. 5 frontiers must work together to complete different missions to escape before it's too late. But beware, one of the frontiers is a traitor whose goal is to escape and leave the others to fall into the abyss. RGT, what are you picking out the boot?
Fall of Porcupine, PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, PS4, Xbone and Switch, June 15th. Fall of Porcupine is a unique story adventure, the collision of work and daily life, an exciting reflection of an unhealthy healthcare system. Experience the exciting story of Finley and his friends in a loving illustrated world and uncover the darkest secrets of Porcupine and its residents.
That's probably one of the most sober things that a game developer has ever attached to a game. A reflection of an unhealthy healthcare system. I mean, it looks actually quite captivating, so fair play to them, and I'll probably check that out. So, Slopes, have you got a game from the pile of games in the boot here that you'd like to get behind?
Oh, yes. I'm so glad you said. Can I move down one, potentially? Because underneath this one, Layers of Fear, I don't know what that is. But underneath that one, there's Park Beyond, which definitely caught my eye.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind me talking about that one. Hey, look, it's a 3D sort of theme park game. And I loved me some theme park back in the day. That was a big challenge for me. Do I buy myself... Got it right here, actually. Do I buy myself the 32X or do I buy myself a copy of Theme Park for the Mega Drive? I went for Theme Park because I saved up that money first. And this looks like it's a newer version of something like that.
It absolutely is. We got the fortune to play it at WSD Live when we popped down, and we thought it was an interesting game. They didn't particularly sell it very well on the day, but since I've done a little bit more research, and it's certainly popped its head above the radar. The other game that Stingray's brought to us, Layers of Fear, on the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X, June 15th. All stories must come to an end, even twisted and eerie ones. The canvas, the stage, the novel. This narrative-focused psychological horror experience is ready for its final brush strokes. Those teeth not wedded back into my mouth since I said 45-degree gaming yurt. Are you ready to return and face your fears one last time? Now, before we let Ray go, Sir Slopes, we normally pick out a VHS. This week, I have picked out House Sitter with Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn. It's one that you probably passed in the video rental store because it's not for teenagers, but I think we can get some value from this. Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn starring this hilarious romantic comedy about the consequences of stretching the truth. Story about Tommy Tallarico. So, Slopes, what have you got VHS-wise out the boot this week?
I've got a copy of Night Trap on VHS.
Look at
which
that.
is just basically all of the video clips from this upcoming game coming out for the Mega CD, whatever that is.
I've heard mention of that in Meme Machines. I hear it's for bigger boys.
So yeah, there it is. Hopefully, this American VHS plays on my UK tape. It's been so long since I opened up one of these.
Yeah, well, you could open it up to the light. You could hold it up to the light and just rotate the thing through really quick, and that might work. Yeah, perfect.
There you go.
We'll look at the box.
I don't have anything else to show. If I'm honest. Yeah,
that's perfect. RGT, what are you taking home to watch this week from the Mighty Ray?
I'm going to go with Ashens and the Plebeius Heist.
Hey,
yeah,
I'm in that.
I love it.
I know, that's why I'm watching it.
you really have to look hard to see me. It was ridiculous. So he kept asking me, do I want to come up for all these different days? And that was basically what was it? I think it wasn't during lockdown. Either way, I know it was before my kids literally were weren't at school at that time. So in the daytime, I would look after my kids while my wife was at work, wherever she was at the time. I think it was at the hotel. And then when she comes home, I would then do my work. And so all the days where he did all the filming, I wasn't able to go unless I brought my kid along, which they didn't want. Fair play. And so he kept saying, look, I really want to put you in the video. Where can you send me a picture of yourself and I'll show you up on a screen? And stupidly, I sent a picture of me not wearing my Slopes Game Room hat with long hair. That looks nothing like me, and that's the picture they put in the video. But I'm in there. I went up to London to go see it at the Odeon.
Yeah, I pre-ordered with him and got the old signed box set, and I got the other one when I've spoken to Ashens a couple of times. But I love
he's a good guy.
Oh, he's a great guy. He's one of the nicest people to speak to.
You know what?
Like, his films are fantastic.
They really are. They are. Only one time, and I'm not going to say who it is, but only one YouTuber out of everyone I've ever spoken to was a dick. Like, we all do this because we like it. You know, like, we're not doing it because we want to, like, you know, we're not doing it as like a money thing or whatever else. It's just become that because it's something that we're interested in. And, you know, like, that's why I say, like, these people are the people I work alongside. If we have to do a video, if we end up doing a video for a new game that's coming out or whatever it may be, and we end up doing a similar thing, we end up, for the most part, you know, not in competition with each other, but actually working with each other. I know right now, if I open up Skype, which happens more often than I care to admit, I'll say, Kim, can you quickly record this line for me for a video? Just instantly, she'll do it straight there and then. And that's the same with so many other people. Like, everyone's really, really cool. Even people out in America. I'm not readily speaking to as much as I am the UK folk. I'll reach out to them and like, hey, yeah, I watch your stuff, and it's cool. We have that good back and forth because we're all very interested in the same topics. That's why we got into it. Went off on another one there, but there you go.
It's all good. I think ultimately it was to tell us that you've not met that many bad eggs in the industry, and that's good news.
I think it's because I've come from
and you only met me today.
Background. But I say I come from a sales background, and certain sales groups of salesmen would be in competition with another group, and they pretend they're friends with each other. But as soon as they get the opportunity to have one up on someone else, they will take that on. And I'm just like, I hate that sort of mentality.
I despise it. Yeah, it's not nice, is it?
Yeah, thank God I'm not part of that anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Well, luckily for you, Sir Slopes, some of us are still mired down here and all of that. Listen, it's been great to have you on, but before we let you go, and we let Ray's gone. He doesn't hang around like smoke. He just disappears in the air. I look down and all I can see is a piece of Milky Bar with an annoying piece of foil stuck on it. You know how it used to be. I won't eat it this week. I'm just going to let it go. Those that know the format of the show know that you can't go until I ask you what you're hoping to play. So Slopes, what games are you hoping to dance your delicate fingers across the buttons of this week?
This week, okay. So I'm part of Humble Choice. I signed up to that last year, and I get like all these games come through, and I'm literally installing them because loads of them I haven't done. But they've just put out Honey, I've Joined a Cult, which I have played before at a trade show. But it's essentially like Prison Architects, but you're a cult leader, and you've got to try and bring people in as your cult.
Oh, wow.
And like that sort of top-down, build your own cult house. And
that's what I wanted from Cult of the Lamb. So this to me sounds like absolutely glorious. No, bring him on. Bring him on.
What?
Something weird happened. There was an unknown error.
Oh, no. Well, it's because we've lost the internet or something. Just
only on 1%.
Okay.
That is the future of the gaming.
Yeah.
He's going to inherit Slopes game room. He's going to inherit all of it, right? Wonderful.
Yeah. It's bonkers. I tell you what, like back in the day when I bought a game, maybe I got a game for Christmas or whatever, that's the game I'm playing for like the next several months. Because I get so many games. Like he's like, yeah, I'll give it a go. Yeah, it's all right. Next game.
I know, they don't know how lucky they are nowadays.
Yeah. I know I've got a Steam library of several hundred games, but it's kind of that, but like with physical games. With him.
It's a scary time. As I mentioned, Fast Food Dizzy at the start of the show, I bought that with my money that I'd saved up. Even though I knew it wasn't what I wanted it to be, I still sat and hyped the living wits out of it while drinking the fizzy pop and the chocolate bars that I could find downstairs that look most like the ones in the game. Absolutely unbelievable. That Cult game does sound incredible. So we'll keep our eyes on that.
Where is it? Honey, I Joined a Cult. It's a Team 17 published game. It's not new. It's been out for a little while, but I've just got it as this bundle that I've signed up to with Humble. So I'm like, I'm definitely going to give that a go. I've wanted to play it for a while. It's very set in like 1960s. Like the main guy's got a big motorbike moustache on. Like it looks quite funny that with like the old hypnotic eyes. It looks quite fun. From what I played at the conventions, it was good fun. It's got fairly good reviews from what I see. So got that. I've also got this Ghostwire Tokyo. If I want something a bit more meaty. Maybe I want to finish off Cuphead because I keep trying to start and I end up getting to one boss that I just can't do and then I stop.
I think that's the story of Cuphead.
Yeah, it's hardcore, isn't it? Yeah. I seem to have jumped to the DLC before finishing the main game as well, and that's the harder bosses from what I understand. So I mean, there's a few there. Probably be playing some Fortnite, unfortunately, as well.
This is where we find out you're some sort of stealth pro Fortniter as well.
Mate, it's ridiculous. I tell you what, one thing Fortnite has got going on for it that not enough, because there's everyone in my circles, Fortnite's rubbish, they always say it. But one thing it has got going, they'll hate on Fortnite, but they'll love Super Smash Brothers because of the incredible roster. Well, let me tell you, Fortnite absolutely abolishes Super Smash Brothers.
Oh my goodness.
It's nuts. And it's what actually spawned me off to make the Evil Dead video that I've worked on. My son comes in and goes, Dad, who's Ash Williams? I'm like, what?
No way.
And he's like, yeah, with the chainsaw and killing people. I'm like, how the hell do you know who Ash Williams is. And I'm like, okay, it's in Fortnite. Okay, fair enough. And I'm like, that's nuts. So I suppose it's no different than buying RoboCop toys back in the 80s and 90s for a film
Aliens.
that we can't. Yeah, Aliens. And they're in the game as well. So if you want to know what it's like to be Ash Williams beating up a xenomorph whilst someone with a lightsaber comes in and kills you, and now you got Optimus Prime's just joined the ranks as of yesterday.
He has, yeah.
Whilst riding on the back of a dinosaur from Jurassic World. It's the most insane roster of characters ever.
That sounds like my pre-show fever dream.
It's absolutely insane. But yeah, I'm just so bad at those games. For me, it's just that thing. Like, okay, right, let's have a go on this. Right, let's go. I know, load it up. Right, okay, just join in the match. Right, we'll join in a minute. Okay, right, we're in. Headshot. Wicked.
There's no shame in hiding in a bush in that game. You know,
that's just my style. And what really pains me as an adult, as a dad to a son that really, really likes that game. Oh my God, can I have all this like money so I can have? He's probably standing out there listening to me. Can I have all this money so I can get Optimus Prime? I'm like, okay, what does he do? Nothing.
Nothing.
None of the characters do nothing. They all like they might act a bit different, do a different dance, but the gameplay is core. It's still exactly the same, but now you get
skin, isn't it?
Yeah, now you get to look like Lara Croft or whatever. And I'm like, geez, that's the thing I really. I suppose it's a good thing because if you had to pay to be a better player, I would hate that more technically, but still.
Well, some of these guys though do have quirks. Like Spider-Man's made him, although it made him a character you needed to play as because he had a unique set of traversal techniques.
Right.
That would be beneficial to use him for. But okay, nice eclectic mix there, Sir Slopes. RGT. What's in your bundle of fun for this week?
Be more sort of arcade ports than the 7800. Definitely more Tears of the Kingdom because I just can't put that game down. That is absolutely phenomenal. And also should be coming tomorrow. I've got a new toy coming to the console family here in the shed, so I shall be indulging on playing in that.
Well, you got a new retro system coming?
No, I've actually got a new modern system coming.
Interesting.
So that is.
Are you hiding this, or is this going to be a guest thing, or what's going on here? Why can't you? Why are you being so elusive with it? Why are you being shadowy?
I'm not being shadowy. I was going to say next week, so I'd actually received it yet.
Okay.
I've got.
No. Save it. We might pick up maybe half a listener from maybe your mum might listen in, find out what you bought. So that's at least.
So I should be on the new system. Trying that out this week, I would imagine.
Wonderful. Okay. And very quickly, I'm probably going to get a little bit more confused by Anno 1800. Then resort.
I've got that on vinyl.
What, the actual soundtrack of the game?
Yeah, I've got the soundtrack of the game on vinyl.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's really good, to be fair. That's one of the takeaway elements that I took from the beginning. And the artwork on the loading screens is absolutely sublime. It's done in like a watercolor style of sort of early imperial images, like an elephant being lifted off a paddle steamer. It shouldn't tickle me, but for some reason it does. A little bit more Jurassic World. Probably need to buckle down and finish Star Wars, Jedi Survivor. And then I think that's the deck's cleared. I've been dabbling with Yakuza Like a Dragon, but I've not gone full into it because I've got so many other things on the go. I don't want to.
Yakuza's one I really want to give it a go. I'm obsessed with Sega, and there's so much hidden Sega history within the Yakuza and Like a Dragon stuff. And
there is
Judgment.
Yeah.
And
we've got a guy on the Discord. He's called Rose Space Monk on the Discord, and he is 1000G in every single Yakuza game.
Right.
What I tell you what, I would. Oh, I don't know what I would do to myself if you put out a history of Yakuza video.
That's the thing. I would have to play so much. Sega have sent me a couple of the games back in the day, and I just want to get into it. I hate talking to people, and I tried Yakuza 0, and I'm like an hour and a half in. I'm like, I've done so little in the actual game, like me doing things, not talking, and it's like, oh my God, get to the game. Because I really want to like that game so much.
Within it, did you like Shenmue on the Dreamcast?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Well, this basically, Riga Gatu is the guy who, behind all the scenes, was the one holding that together. And basically, Yakuza is a manifestation of everything you love.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah. And the games they are a little bit sort of grindy in a way, but the story does start to sing to you, and some of the side stories, which is what really brings the colour to the Yakuza universe, are some of the greatest side stories you've ever played. So maybe save it for a desert island. I'll
have they've got a compilation with all of them on there. I'll have that.
They've got a compilation with the vast majority of them on there. The remastered collection, so that'll be perfect fodder for you, Slopes. Yes, it would do. With all that said and done, I think we're about there. Just to remind everybody, in his own immortal words, go on the Google machine, type in Slopes Game Room, and click whatever comes up first, and then buy all the merch, subscribe to all his stuff. And
I'll put the link. I'll put the links on to Discord. I'll put Slopes' YouTube channel. I'll also put the link to his Amico documentary. And like I say, I know I've kept saying it, but definitely give it a watch.
It's my favourite video I've ever done.
It is absolutely.
I'm now at a point very high. I don't know what I'm
quality.
ever going to do to beat that now. Maybe do an extended mix. I don't know. The director's cut.
Wow.
That's surprising.
Physical copy. That's what you want. Blu-ray.
I have got a Blu-ray coming out, actually. That's what I'm going to be working on today. I'm sorting out the Blu-ray, final things on the Blu-ray, the menus and that today.
Oh, wow.
This, when we said, is there anything to pump? It's the upcoming Blu-ray. If
I've got a soft toy coming out as well, apparently.
Oh my goodness gracious me! If you're listening,
I know I have. Yeah.
If you're listening and you've ever wanted to get on the coattails of an absolute megastar before he goes,
oh come on, no,
before he goes truly lunar orbit, catch him while he's still orbiting the planet Earth. Get on board, get your Slopes cuddly toy. It sounds like I'm doing a run through of the generation game, what's on the conveyor belt, but get yourself right front and center for that Blu-ray. I guess that's going to be a compilation of all the things that you've done.
So it's going to be, I'll tell you what it is. It's 10 of my Sega complete histories all together. They're going to have commentaries by me and guest commentaries as well. There'll be an introduction of me on every single one. So you can I'll talk you through what you're about to see and blah, blah, blah. There'll be as re-recorded some of the gameplay in a few bits where I look back and I'm like, okay. Because, you progress as you know, I'm trying to think of another word that's not filmmaker, documentarian, because that sounds so ridiculous and big-headed, but you get better making content, and I want to make the old stuff look as good as the new stuff. There's absurd amounts of hidden features on there, because I want to fill up a video game Blu-ray full of Easter eggs, and obviously I do. And it's being pumped out by a subsidiary of... Actually, no, I don't know if I'm allowed to say. Actually, I better shut my mouth. I don't know if it's if I'm allowed to say what the company is, but it's a very big American company. Going to be a subsidiary of this very big American company. Are going to be putting it out, and it should be good fun. Good fun.
That is awesome news. Here's one for the back of the box.
I'm writing a book as well.
Unbelievable. Okay, here's one for the back of the box of the Blu-ray or the book. Mumsy, fetch the tissues I haven't used since the Case catalogue in 1992. Slopes' content is coming in a premium form. Couldn't be happier.
Maybe I'll have the spine be like ripped off from Edward Scissorhands, and then it'll have the name of the actual Blu-ray on there.
You pre-order it at Roy's at an old Tesco.
A peel-off, half-peeled sticker for the true pro. Absolutely, yeah. Listen, sir, you've been what can only be described as charming and wonderful, a full realization of the very person that we see on the internet. And to be honest with you, it's not always a given that person manifests himself to us in person. But in your case, Sir Slopes, Dan, if I may, you literally have been that manifestation. You are, as I said before, the king of the click in my eyes. You are the just a wonderful.
I'm gonna get you to write the back of the Blu-ray box.
Just record me while I'm in flow, because if you put a gun to my head, I won't be able to do it.
Voice to text, record now, go. There you go.
But absolutely wonderful to have you here. You are truly the manifestation of everything that we imagined that you would be. If you're ever up for it again, there's so much more that I wish we could have had time to deep dive and discuss.
I'd say we'll jump on again. Apologies if I'm distant on private messages and stuff like that. I just get so laser focused into the video I'm creating that my world just becomes that thing. When I was making that Amico video, I was dreaming. I'm not saying this for comedy's sake. I dreamt about Tommy Tallarico and the Amico at least 5 times, maybe. My world becomes that thing. Right now I'm on the come down of Evil Dead, because I've watched every single movie, about 5 documentaries, looking into documentaries about the video nasty stuff. But during the Amico things, I was literally, from moment you wake up to a lot of the times well past the wife's bedtime, staying up just like looking through old message boards. Oh look, he's announced another game. Oh, there's another one, whatever else, like listening to interviews and yeah, so like my world just becomes so focused. So apologies if I'm very one word answery on
listen
social.
We're honoured to be paint on your easel of your next masterpiece, and even to be a subsidiary of that process as we have today in this morning's conversation. It's been a true honour. So thank you so much again for coming on.
Thank you so much, Slopes.
All we can do is give you a knighthood of Farmerton, which again is only owned by one other person, which is Sir Mike Rouse of Antstream fame. So, a glittering collection of lords and knights we're building for ourselves in the county of Farmerton. So we're very, very, very honoured to have you on. Thank you again. Once again, everyone, go check out everything that has the word Slopes written on it. Anything that even refers to anything that's even a slight gradient above 0.5, that's a slope as far as I'm concerned, and it should have this man's branding on it. Thank you again for everything. RGT, is there anything you want to impart before we wish everyone a good afternoon?
No, just same thing. Just real honour to have you on, Slopes. Brilliant. It's been a real pleasure. One of the best shows I've done, I think. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, cheers, guys. We'll do it again. Fantastic. We'll do another one and we'll chat more about random other stuff. I don't know.
And like I say, I'll stick on the links on Discord, guys, so you can hop on there and check out his YouTube if you haven't before. And to see his brilliant content.
Oh, thank you very much.
If they haven't checked out his YouTube before, one wonders if they've ever been on YouTube and or therefore have even got eyes. But it's not a pre-qualifier, I suppose. Thank you again, sir. And I turn to the listeners and say that's all we have time for this week. As always, thank you for your time. We'll look forward to the pleasure of you speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming. And remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, gentlemen.
See you later, guys.
Catch you later.